Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Women's Speed Chess Championships. I am here today with Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, and we are covering the finals of the Leg 2 bracket. This is going to be a really exciting day. As you can see, we're going to see two players who've been playing fantastically well, Valentina Gunina and Anna Ushenina, fight off for this legs title. Hey, Danya.
Hi, Jennifer. Always a pleasure to be doing commentary with you, and I'm as excited as you are to be watching these matches. The third place match also absolutely fascinating. We've got four incredible world-renowned competitors fighting off for some major prizes here, so I can't wait for this to get started.
Me too. And by the way, that third place match could easily be the final match because
Absolutely.
they were both buzzer beaters. Actually, just as close as a match could literally get in both cases. Sarah Kadim, it actually went to Armageddon.
That's crazy. And of course, Katerina Logno, incredibly strong player. So both in terms of level and in terms of the way that the cards fell on the table, they could have been fighting for first place, as you mentioned, Jennifer. So shall we take a quick look at some of the technicalities, the format, the logistics?
And here we have it. Yes, we're going to take a look at that. Well, there are four legs. So this is not the last day of chess here at the Women's Speed Chess Championships. This is 2 out of 4 legs. So some of your favorite players, you didn't see them this week. That's because everybody takes off one leg. Each of the 21 players participating plays in 3 out of the 4. So for instance, we get a lot of questions. Tata Babrahamian is not in this leg, right? But you'll see her in the next 2. And all matches in each Grand Prix are divided into 3 segments, which you'll recognize from your Speed Chess Championship viewing. We've got 30 minutes of 5 with a 1 second increment. Then we move to 3-1, and finally, everybody's favorite 1-1.
Definitely my favorite zone. I'm not even going to hide it. I can't wait for the bullet section. But the blood section, of course, producing some super high quality games. And they're not fighting out for free. They are fighting for some very serious prizes. As we see, first place, $3,000, all the way up to 9th through 16th, which is $200 per competitor. But today, of course, we've got the first place matches. So there's a lot at stake here, both in terms of honor and in terms of objective prizes as well.
Absolutely. And it's so important right now, Chess.com and FIDE coming together to put this competition when so many live events have been canceled is very meaningful because right now, a lot of chess players have lost income from not getting to play in those big live events that they would normally play.
That's a great point, and it's good to see how quickly all of these organizations have embraced online chess, and putting this together just logistically is very, very difficult. So we appreciate the amount of opportunities that chess players have in this very difficult time for everyone.
Absolutely. And so predictions. What are you gonna go with? Valentina and Ushenina, and also the third place match.
Between Ushenina and Gunina, they're so close. I'm gonna have to go with Gunina. I'm just a little bit more familiar with her practice. And between Logno and Sarah Kadem, I'm gonna have to go with Logno again because I've seen Katerina participate in so many women's Grand Prix tournaments. I think she's a pretty strong blitz player as well. But we've seen so many times in these speed chess championships how my predictions could be left and are left in the dust. So I think these are going to be some very close matches.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna go with Katerina and God, the other one is just so hard.
I feel like you should say Anna just to be different from me, Jennifer. So that between the two of us, one of us is by definition correct.
Okay, I'll pick Anna as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Perfect.
I will pick Anna. She did beat Ho Yifan to get to where she is earlier in the event. So that's
not an easy feat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The highest rated player. And here we've got it looks like the players are getting set up to get ready. Now, I have to say, Sarah was truly impressive in her blitz skills. It actually in the game point, she was down a pawn in a rook and 4 versus rook and 3. And she just had this incredible pre-move brilliancy that won her the game. So she just played like rook a5 and rook takes a6. She got her.
Incredible. And Sarah, no stranger to high-level blitz. I can attest that in many over-the-board tournaments, I'd stay up with a group of people that included her. We played blitz all the way up to the night. So all of that late night fevered practice paying off at last here. So
Oh,
we'll see
really? So
whether
she
she can
was.
repeat. Yeah, she was blitzing with grandmasters with us. Grandmaster Salim Saleh was a renowned blitz player himself. I saw them blitzing for hours at tournaments like the Gibraltar Chess Festival. So absolutely no stranger to very high level blitz is Sarah Kadam. But neither
Was
is
it?
Katerina Lagno, of course.
No. And was this mostly Bug House or Blitz?
So in Europe, I think we gravitate toward blitz when there's a group of grandmasters. I myself am a horrifically bad bughouse player. It's usually blitz and bullet that is gravitated towards because that's sort of the common language. There are good bughouse players, but yeah, normally it is blitz and bullet that's played.
Yeah, because I'm used to a lot of those chess parties and stuff devolving into Bug House. Well, I
Indeed,
shouldn't say
yeah.
devolve because there's nothing wrong with Bug House.
Yeah, if there's any bughouse fans in the chat, yeah, we let that be stricken from the record. But I think devolve is not the worst choice of word. But these matches certainly don't devolve into anything but high level chess as they are underway, it seems.
That's right, and we are kicking it off with a Roy Lopez. I wonder if it's going to go into a Marshall. Nope. Um, we've got this Bishop C5 line. How do you feel about this?
This is a very sharp, very theoretical line. It's a tough line to manage in a blitz game. And here we see knight takes c5, temporarily sacrificing the knight, recovering with d4. One of the topical lines here. I think bishop takes d4 is the main line, and then d6. Sarah has played this for years, though. She's very, very familiar with the intricacies. But both players seeming to be very, very confident displaying the theory here. c5 is a move, knight c6. Very sharp position.
Yeah, this one feels like a lot of fun for white to play in blitz. So let's see, knight to g6 instead, chosen by Sarah. You said you were protecting knight c6.
Yeah, I mean, this move does not come with tempo. I don't know. Now e5, this looks scary.
Yeah, because if you take now, queen takes 8, d8, king d8, what happens there?
Well, maybe you can just sack the pawn. You go fe and then bishop g5, and you just have a huge initiative. Look at that king, and you might think it's just an endgame. Queens are off the board, but man, does white have some serious beef there that she could put on d1 and e1? Ooh, I think knight g6 might be inaccurate. Again, I'm not familiar with this line, but this looks so much easier to play with white, and here we see it. Knight c3, rook d1, rook e1, just the pieces, the position just flows. You can also take on f7 here to restore the material balance if she so chooses. White is definitely on top here in this first game.
Absolutely. I mean, she felt compelled to play knight d7 to stop this threat of rook takes f6. That was a direct threat, but the problems are still remaining after bishop e3. We're going to see knight c3, knight d5 is going to be on the menu, and the king on d8 is still weak. It's not quite an endgame yet.
Right, it's a queenless middle game. That bishop kind of like a hornet coming in for the sting and then dropping back to b3. Sarah going after it, which makes sense. Black has to orchestrate some trades here to relieve the burden of that incredibly weak, permanently weak king. So Sarah trying to do just that. And Katerina with a very savvy move, knight d2. If knight takes bishop, then knight takes knight. And then that knight on b3 has access to that very weak square on c5. So very interesting choice there by Katerina to play knight d2.
Yeah, knight d2. Not a move that I would have thought of, but I like it now that you mention it because knight b3, and it just, your knight on f6 is still pinned, and looks like knight c5 is unstoppable.
Yeah, and if you don't take on b3, that's exactly what Sarah tries to do. I like bishop e6 actually, but now bishop e3, but then knight takes. So Sarah delays taking the bishop, and if Katerina takes black's bishop, then knight takes with tempo, and that's a pretty big trade. That's a little bit more favorable for black than if Sarah were to take the bishop with her knight.
What about rook d1 to start? I think rook a to d1 with the idea that if you take on b3, I take with check, and that looks juicy.
Great move. I like that quite a bit. Something to that effect. I would not take on e6 here necessarily. Although Katerina could decide also to take on f6 and transform her advantage. But I liked your move, Jennifer. I think that would have been the move most in the spirit of the position.
Yeah, because now it does seem like this crucial tempo could give black a chance to maybe play, king c8. I don't know where exactly I want my king.
Yeah.
No square really looks that appealing. I would love to play like c6 and king c7, but then you'd have bishop g3 check.
Exactly.
So Anywhere looks a little bit uncomfortable, but I feel like king
Yeah,
c8.
maybe to b7. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the lesser evil. The problem is Katarina could decide to take on f6 at any moment she wanted and ruin black's pawns for these positions. And g5 by Star, she's taking drastic measures to trying to push white away a little bit, but rook a6 in the mix as well. Now that knight on f6 has lost its support. Ugh. Tough here for Sarah.
Yeah, rook a6. Ooh, that's a juicy threat. That's a problem. We also have the open a file. Yeah.
Oh man.
Problems don't end, and even in that line, well, I guess you could play rook b6 to avoid losing all your pieces, but it doesn't look good. Knight h5 played. How is this move doing? It looks like bishop e5. Threatening. What is our immediate threat? G4 is not a threat because you can play knight f4. Knight f4 was just played
maybe
on her own accord.
Yeah, now Sarah has opened sort of a channel of negotiations down the f file, but those negotiations might not be favorable to her. Knight takes g5 here, actually not a threat due to the intermezzo knight e2 check. So I would go king d7 here if I were Sarah to connect the rooks. Otherwise, knight takes g5 actually is a threat. Maybe h6 also, but that rook on f8 doesn't have support. So I think, okay, maybe this works, but really teetering on the brink here is Sarah g3. Now that knight doesn't have any good squares. This just goes on and on, doesn't it? This initiative never ends. But Sarah doing a good job so far. She's hanging in there.
She is. I mean, I feel like I'd be happy if I were black and I got this position after the one that we had, 10 moves ago?
Definitely, yes. You gotta put things in perspective sometimes in chess.
No, she's a great fighter, though. That's what we saw from her matches yesterday. Well, her match yesterday, or was it Friday now? Yeah, she just continues to fight even when she's in a worse position or seeming hopeless position, which is just such a critical skill in chess in general, but especially in blitz.
Absolutely. It's, you get so many bad positions. Inevitably, you mess up even openings that you know very well. And so you just have to, there's a grandmaster that calls this the goalkeeper's glory. A goalkeeper doesn't score any goals himself, but he derives pleasure from stopping goals. And so when you're in a bad position, you got to put on that defender's cap and almost be happy with just deflecting the initiative as long as you can. And king c8, then the rook could activate itself via b6. Okay, this is already looking a lot better now for Sarah, and also the time, this time situation equalizing as well. What a defense so far. Not to jinx her, which of course I always do, but
but I still like white. I mean, if you look at this objectively, like I still am taking white because the king on c8. It seems still a little potentially awkward, but I'm not sure exactly what my plan is for white. I want to try to get my rook into f7, so bishop e7.
Yep,
I like that.
Exactly. Now maybe, and another good thing is, well, maybe rook c6, c3, rook to c4. Black has to try to play with her lead with her rook. I absolutely agree. I think white is still better. I do think Katarina is probably a little disappointed psychologically. And in these cases, you have to manage your expectations. If you keep playing as if you're winning, you're going to overpress and make the situation even worse. But definitely still better for white. She's still in the driver's seat, and just a practically much harder position to play with black than with white. But knight c5, a good move. Again, lightening the load by trading as many pieces as possible. And now the rook endgame potentially is just a draw. That rook on c5 is occupying a very good defensive post.
Oh, she did take. Okay, but she's just going to take once. She's not going to take again on c5, right?
I don't think so. But then that knight could jump to, if not, then the knight could jump to. Knights are very jumpy in blitz. So maybe she just bids goodbye to her winning chances and just says, this one didn't quite go my way. But I don't think she's going to do that just psychologically.
What about, let's see, what about just playing rook f6 for the minor piece endgame?
I was thinking about that as well. I think in that case, maybe Sarah could take and go g4 and then h5 to put her pawns on the light squares. However, that king on g2 comes very, very fast. So definitely she's deciding, I think, between taking the knight and going rook f6. I think those are her two candidate moves.
Because in general, the bishop versus knight in endgames with pawns on both sides can sometimes be very favorable for the bishop because it can defend and support the promotion of our side's pawns at the same time. So
very good point.
Yeah, I like rook f6 from a strategic point of view, but there's been a lot of pawn trades. I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah, and rook f6 chosen here by Katerina. Another good thing, Jennifer, you pointed out, the bishop on f6, like you said, defending pawns on c3, you could put the other pawn on b4, and then white has a very compact pawn structure. But
Oh, I thought
g4,
you were
very
going to
important
say
here.
I thought you were going to say what your frequent co-host is apparently obsessed with. As I've worked with him for the previous games of this match, he always likes to check the queening square of the outside pass pawn,
Right.
right?
And here, yeah, Chesson and Hessing. So the H pawn is of the correct square. So white is completely winning, right? Is that the logic? Yeah, Robert does not miss an opportunity to do that. That's a good point. Much
Yeah.
love to GM Robert Hess, of course. Amazing commentator and good friend.
Yeah, he's great, and he is taking the weekend off to get some hiking in. So, a really hard worker in the chess world. We're glad that he's getting a little bit of rest today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as the players are drawing, slowly going into the time pressure phase, I was just checking under me to see if I wasn't about to knock the internet cable with my feet, which I do really often, especially in time pressure.
Oh boy, oh boy. Well, 25 seconds left for Katerina Lano as she does
Oh,
go for this
and
race.
c5. Gotta start pushing the pawns, or maybe not. Bishop can come to c1.
Yeah, that's the problem. We can defend so much more quickly and easily
Yes.
with the bishop than the knight.
Look at that knight laboriously, just shifting itself around, trying to be of service. But look at that h pawn; it's going to start running down the board furiously. I think you called this, Jennifer. These types of endgames with pawns on opposite sides, the bishop is a beast at stopping past pawns, and it can sacrifice itself for the greater good on b2. This is losing, I think. b4, h6, b3, h7, knight c3. Yep, white queen's first.
Yeah, I mean, if we could get our knight to g6, it's just not going to help. It's too slow.
Right, you could try to get it to g8, but yeah, h6. If you do go knight g6, king g5 comes to the rescue, chasing that knight away. That is exactly what she tries to do. It's just not good enough. And Katerina going to cruise to victory here. And kudos to her for showing persistence. That initiative was ebbing and flowing, but she just kept things churning, kept her legs churning. Like a football player meeting contact. Marshawn lynching her way to victory here.
And I love that she gave the viewers an instructional lesson, an instructional takeaway of the power versus the bishop versus the knight in the end game as we move to the second game. And we've got a Fianchetto line here. I thought she was going to maybe play the Grunfeld, but we've got this line, knight c6. What's the idea here? I'm not familiar with this, Danya. To me, the knight on c6 looks like misplaced.
Yeah, I myself play this with knight pd7. The normal idea is to reserve the right to play on the queen side, and that's what Lagno does. a6, b5 becomes an idea. This knight on a5 might, to a non-King's Indian eye, might seem, what is she doing putting her knight on the side like this? But that knight could be an integral part of queenside play, so it's a very double-edged idea. I personally have played the King's Indian my whole life, never really liked to play with that knight on a5, because it can get trapped with b4 if you're not careful. But it's a very kind of hyper modern line, and Sarah choosing a more conservative setup, putting her pawn on e3, her knight on e2. Ooh, h5 by Katerina, adding some Tabasco sauce to the position here.
Oh yes. Well, looks like she had fun in the last game.
Wow.
And she's followed up with h4. And wait, why not h3 now?
H3, having, as the Russian expression goes, having said A, you got to say B, and you got to say C. h3 even now. Bishop h3, there's knight takes f2. Go for it, Katerina. h3, bishop f3, queen f6. This is looking good for white. Beautiful sort of modern play here by Katerina, but she's got to follow up here. You can't miss out on h3, can you?
Yeah, well, that Russian saying, I never heard that one before.
Yep, and that's exactly, Katerina's probably repeating that saying to herself in her head right now. h3 on the board. Bishop takes h3, knight f2, restores material equality, and it eliminates this crucial Fianchetto bishop, leaving white's king virtually in the dust.
No, it looks horrible for white, actually. And I just think that expression is funny because I guess that's why Russians are so good at chess. Because in English, we just say, once you say A, say B. Like, you guys are taking it to the next level.
No, but actually the having, you got to say C. I invented that part. It was just once you say A, you got to say B. That's the Russian expression.
Oh, okay.
I was playing it. I was hamming it up a little bit.
So it's
which
only
is
you who's smarter. It's not. It's not
exactly.
the
I'm smarter than those creators of the language. Those dummies.
idioms. Well, you can create your own idioms. That's what we're doing commentary for. That's the
Hmm.
end goal. But knight
It
c1
is.
played. Okay, this looks like a pretty good defensive move, right? Because she's
It is.
looking at that knight on a5, trying to get some tactics against it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure f5 was the best. I mean, maybe queen f6 instead was interesting, but now the g4, the upside is the g4 knight is protected, and Katarina taking the time to defend the knight on a5 and potentially vacate sort of the b7 square, so she doesn't have to keep that in the back of her head. But Sara maneuvering her knight to d3, excellent idea, protecting f2. And here we see Katarina kind of mirroring that, trying to get her knight to c5 to trade it off. Also a very good idea. I think very unclear position. It can go either way. Very unclear.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah, if you had to pick a side, who would you be right now?
Well, I'm a King's Indian player, so I'm hopelessly biased. I'm going to have to choose black. But I think the trend of the game is in white's favor. I think Sara definitely relieved that she's beaten off sort of the initial wave of the initiative. I'm really a wordsmith today, am I? And she can actually castle long if she so desires. So that's kind of what she's reserving the right to do.
You're right, though. I mean, she did play queen to c2, so she's intimating that. In this position, if she takes on e4 with the knight and then knight e4, queen e4, there's potential bishop f5 stuff that seems annoying.
Exactly. Bishop d3. It's a fight over the e4 square, which Sara is going to actually win. I wasn't sure bishop f5 was the way to go immediately, because now she can castle short. G4 can be thrown in. Definitely favoring white now, without a doubt. Control over the key central squares. Slightly inferior pawn structure. Katarina's got to try to go a4 and open up the queen side, which is what she does. Even b4 here is to be considered for Sara, keeping the files closed and potentially later on breaking through with c5. Knight f2 instead. Okay, cautious.
All right. So a takes b3. Black to move here. I'm worried about my h pawn now, because you are threatening to just take on f5 and then potentially take on h3, right?
Yep, got to keep that in the back of your head. Maybe you have to take on d3, or maybe you end up sacking that pawn and saying, you know what, I'd rather get those pawns to f5 and e5. In these types of positions, the King's Indian is a very resilient opening. You can get punched a lot, but you don't fall to the ground. I would go rook a2 here if I were Katarina. Try to get something going down the a file. Yep.
That's true, because then after knight h3, you have rook d2, right?
Yeah, I mean, currently the queen's defending, but g4 is possible, trying to pick that pawn off. But I'm not sure Sara should sort of reallocate all of her attention to that pawn. But maybe she should, because it is keeping white's king boxed in. So bishop g5, yeah, that's kind of what she's doing. Queen takes g6 now, a threat. Queen f5 is possible for black here. Sacking that pawn.
Queen f5, thinking that after queen takes f5, pawn f5, knight h3, the b pawn is a goner.
Right, good point. Rook b8 or rook b2, or even rook a8 is possible. Knight h7, okay. I could get behind that, because queen takes g6, now f3 is going to hang.
Good, yeah, that makes sense. It's amazing we're just giving up our g pawn. That seems so scary, but it's working out tactically, it appears. And if we don't have queen g6 here, then knight h7 makes me feel like my move bishop g5 wasn't very strong. Because I can't play bishop h4, then you have g5, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a painful little move. So bishop e3 also gives up f3. So I'm almost going to go so far as to say bishop has to come back to c1. And then Katarina could play queen f7 or queen f5, or even, okay, no, she can't return to f6. That would blunder the g pawn. But plenty of options there for Katarina. I think she stabilized the situation and sort of wrested some of the initiative from white's hands. I think objectively, white's probably still a little bit better, but these positions are never easy to play. And here we see the practical value of the King's Indian in blitz games.
Oh, yeah. Knight h7, and Sara is still in the tank. She's down a minute on the clock. I mean, this is a critical position, so I don't blame her for choosing this moment to think, but she's not going to have too many more chances.
Right, and the 1 second increment, it sounds almost like a lot when you're used to playing without increment. And here we see queen takes g6. She's going for sort of the principled approach. Rook takes f3. She's probably planning knight e4. So Katerina could also consider queen f5 here, actually, forcing off the queens and then taking f3 afterward. So big time decisions here to be made by both players. She takes g5 first. Okay, but positionally, this is very dubious if the knight can stabilize on e4. So maybe she has something concrete in mind, such as queen f7 in response. Yeah, queen f7 seems de rigueur. But then queen d8 maybe. Ooh, and knight g5.
Yeah, queen d8. So you'd be forced to play queen f8 then, but your
Right.
pawn on c7, all of those dominoes might fall.
True. The only thing is queen f7, queen d8, queen f8. If you take on c7, white's got to watch out for rook to g2 check. But that mass trade on f8 could be in white's favor because of the dominance of the knight over the bishop. Very interesting position, and the players approaching the time trouble phase. So this is going to be a fascinating finale. I'm calling it right now. Yep,
Queen d8
queen
check
f8.
played.
Don't play bishop f8 because there's knight f6 there.
Knight f6. Ooh, nice looking move there. The X-ray power of the pieces. Instead,
Nice.
queen d8. And the idea of taking on c7 seems massively greedy, doesn't it? I mean, your rook g2
Tempting.
check idea.
Easy to miss.
Rook g2 check would actually just win the game immediately. So queen c7 wasn't possible.
Yep.
And instead
mass trade.
Instead, we go into this end game. So what happens if I play knight f6 check here? You just have king f7.
Probably just move my king. Yeah, that e-pawn, by the way, is not to be underestimated. It's currently blockaded, but it's a sleeping giant. When you're blockading a passed pawn like this, it's easy to fall asleep on it. But if that knight goes on a 4a, that pawn could start moving. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I like rook g2. You can't take on g4 because of the fork. So prescient move knight f6 there, Jennifer's. But maybe rook b2. I kind of like black's practical chances here. A lot of threats could be posed. Sarah's idea is to play rook e3 and pick off that h pawn. Very, very smart concept.
Yeah, and then maybe some combination of g5 and knight f6 will be favorable for us. Now, if we play g5 here, now you can play rook g2 check.
Yep, or bishop takes
g5 with the everything kind of defended that we need.
Very nice move.
Yeah, this looks like a beautiful move, and it stops your idea, Danya.
Exactly. Knight f2. But now bishop d2 and bishop e3. Oh my goodness. Look at the speed with which she finds the move. This is over. Bishop e3 ties white up, limb from limb.
And we can't play rook e2 because you just have rook a1 check.
What a move, and how fast it's executed. Sarah is not going to survive this. So Katerina just a little bit more precise in the critical moments in the game. It's not one-sided, but Katerina sort of remaining on top throughout, and Sarah digging herself into a bit of a hole. But we've seen all sorts of comebacks, and we know how much of a fighter she is. So I'm sure she's not despairing.
Oh, no. And she was really good in the 1 minute portion, I think. And, the thing that we noticed about Sarah from the previous battles was that she sticks with her opening. So I think we are going to see probably another iteration of that unless Katerina switches it up.
Which she has, electing c3 here, which is actually the main line of the bishop c5 variation. Which I'm sure Sarah knows when. And I like players who stick to their openings. I mean, it shows a certain kind of loyalty and belief in your systems. Just kind of an old school approach. I really like that. There's something to be said for mixing things up in blitz, but definitely also something to be said for knowing your lines well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is going to be our last game of the 5 minute, Danya. So
yep, probably.
For Sarah, hopefully before that break, as we head towards even faster time controls, that's how these speed chess championships work. Hopefully she's able to either recover with a game or at least something on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and we should point out, by the way, that taking on e4 is not possible due to very typical Rai Lopez idea, bishop to d5, forking the knights. But this is an important game. I mean, at least to stop the bleeding, let's say with a draw, gives you a little bit of psychological momentum. You realize that, you've come to the board and you actually can draw or win a game. So it's less about the score sometimes and more about, the sort of psychological effect that losing so many games at the start of the match can have on you.
Oh yeah, I mean the psychological impact in these blitz games just can't be underestimated. I mean, we saw Katarina against, I believe, Zansaya Abdumalik get some kind of monstrous score, and you see by like the blitz ratings that score didn't really make any sense based on pure statistics. So it's important to stop the bleeding for sure.
Yeah, and here we see a very interesting pawn structure. Sara with a slightly defective queenside, but she's sort of putting on her King's Indian hat and preparing the kingside strike with f7 to f5. I like it. And this is exactly the kind of play you need to put on in order to recover in these matches. Enterprising, don't shy away from complications. I am a little bit worried about that b5 pawn. After queen e2, Manka S here with that pawn on b5. But we'll see if f5 comes with enough force to distract Katarina's attention.
Well, she is going to get it in one of these days. c4 played here. Okay, saying that you can take on c4 and get rid of your weak pawn, but then I'm going to have this beautiful knight on c4 looking at that b6 pawn.
Right. Interesting idea, kind of transforming her initiative from attacking the pawn to putting her pieces on good squares. But the thing that Sara could do, she could take on c4. She could even consider moving her bishop from b7 to c8, which has the double effect of reinforcing the idea of f5. But a little bit passive there. I don't know. It's very, very double-edged. Again, the game will be decided by how the players handle these critical moments.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Bishop c8 was played. Okay, so that is a dual purpose move. Defending b6, looking at the move f5. And what does white do here? White, has to be very accurate here. Rook a7 just, it doesn't seem like it's shooting in anything but air.
Right.
What about knight takes e5 and d6?
I thought about that. That's interesting. Or I thought about moving the knight away and going f3. Katarina going for the principled approach. And against f5, maybe there you take on e5. Maybe she puts her queen on b3 preemptively. But the problem is if you take on e5 and go d6, ooh, she takes this way. So takes e5, d6 check. Yeah, this is shaky here for Sara because if you go bishop e6 there, Katarina takes the knight. I'm not even sure what's going on at the end of that, but it doesn't smell good for black here. I don't know. Maybe she can keep the balance by just taking the knight.
Yeah, a lot of takes there, isn't there?
Exactly.
By the way, I did notice we had GM Hikaru in the chat a little earlier. So
takes, d6.
Yes, it is. Hey, you got to analyze it. And when you say takes knight, I think what you were saying, Danya, is that after d takes c5, d6, discover check, bishop e6, pawn takes c7, right?
Yeah, or you could actually play queen a3 there, keeping the tension. I really like queen a3 in this position because it attacks e7 with disastrous consequences. But Katarina going for the bailout. Maybe she wants to take on e5, also looking good.
Yeah, I think that's what you were referring to earlier, that you looked at this position and you weren't totally sure because maybe there's some way to harass white here. But
right. I don't see it.
Yeah, now that we see the position right in front of our eyes, it doesn't look sufficient. Rook d2 is attacking the pawn on b2, but it's hard to imagine we don't have some kind of wicked counterplay here like rook a7.
Yeah, this looks nasty. I don't think it's that easy. I mean, in these positions, one possibility is rook a7, and if knight f5, you have knight g6, crushing move. Then you take on f5 and go knight e7 with a 4. So definitely on the cusp of being losing here for Sara, but once again, we are all familiar with her resilience. And in the first game, let's not put things out of perspective. She was very, very close to recovering. And, only at the very end did she kind of slip up again. So we are aware of her ability to climb back from these situations, but this is looking devastating. I think knight c8 is a good move. Rerouting her knight to d6. So she's definitely still in the game. And this is not going to be easy to win. Also, b2 is weak, so...
And okay, so she played rook a3, gaining a tempo. I was thinking she might try rook c7, but there's also rook e2 that needs to be watched out for from the white point of view.
Yep, so here rook b2, there's rook b3, but maybe you start with knight d6, bishop e6. Now rook takes b2 is indeed a threat, as is knight d6, putting the knight on a good central square. So a difficult technical task facing Katarina here. And the time situation, not a disaster for Sara. This is, yeah, definitely, I think, going to bring us to the end of the 5-minute portion. I don't see the game ending in less than a minute.
Yeah, 54 seconds. Indeed. They'd have to agree to a draw very, very shortly. And I don't think it's in Katarina's interest, although it does kind of give me a flashback to game one where she was looking even stronger and Sarah found some great defensive moves all in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. And Katarina's thinking into a think here. I, again, don't blame her because B2 is saying she has to find a way to coordinate her pieces, decide, do we sacrifice that pawn on B2 for initiative? Do we play something like, I don't know, rook C3? Or do we cling to that pawn? But B4 runs into rook D4, laterally forking the bishop and the pawn. So not an easy position to handle, and she's slipping down on the clock here. Maybe knight G6. That, to me, just from an intuitive perspective, looks tempting.
Yeah, knight d6, kind of getting one of your pieces out of one of those loose squares. That's why rook e2 is appealing. But we always could play f3, right?
Yeah, definitely good multi-purpose move defending that bishop.
Yeah, I mean, maybe f3 here is another possibility because the thing is the pawn on f2 is in capture if we try something like rook c1, right? Whereas when we play f3, now we've released our rook on f1 too.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah. Rook c1, knight g6 played eventually. She's got 1 minute on the clock, so a long think here.
And yeah, your move. I mean, she does that a little bit more than other players. She's a fast player, but when she thinks sometimes, Katarina, even in blitz.
Yep, that's definitely, I mean, she identifies the critical moment, and I like her approach. If rook takes b2, she wants rook a8, and I think Sarah's got to go knight d6 here. I don't see that working out, and she does. Again, very good defense so far by Sarah, and now 45 seconds for Katarina. This is not easy to play with white. The fortunes could change here in an instant, as we can see.
That's right. You're attacking the knight on e4, and your knight also on d6 could hit some annoying knight b5 ideas, right? So after a bishop moves away, rook c7 is not a threat because there's knight b5.
Good point. Good point with a fork.
So we'd have to go the other way, probably rook to a7 if we want to get our rook onto the 7th.
Yeah, and I think, okay, knight c4, but now rook a7 is possible. I'm not sure about that move. I think that might be counterproductive. Rook a7, I think she could have taken maybe on b2. But she can still take now with a knight and then swing that knight back around to d3. So still very much in the game. And less than 30 seconds now for Katarina.
Rook c3, knight takes b2. Okay, what is Katarina's idea here? Just rook c6, forking the bishop on e6 and the pawn on b6.
Yep.
Now what? Knight d. What happens if knight d3, is that a move?
That's a great move, actually. Nice.
She's done it because if rook e6, now knight takes c1, we're up in exchange.
So rook a1 might be required here for white. Rook f1 defending the f2 pawn. That also makes sense. Retaining the fork, by the way. So what Sarah could do is bishop f7, and then if rook takes pawn, she could take on g6 and go knight e5, transitioning into basically a drawn rook endgame down a pawn, but still a pretty easy draw 3-on-2. Maybe she's already looking for more. I mean, maybe she senses an opportunity to mix things up. I don't see how she can add heat to the position enough to where Katarina has to use a lot of time, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so now we're starting to consolidate. There's less going on now because we've got pawns on just one side of the board, 3 pawns for white, 2 for black. How can Sarah continue to keep this interesting?
Yeah, so she's deciding between taking the knight. I think her heart is telling her to keep the pieces on the board, but I don't see a way to justify not doing this, and she does. I think very wise decision here. You got to draw this game. She could choose not to take the bishop, which she does, but I'm not a huge fan of that decision because despite the fact that white's pawns are going to be crippled in the end, that bishop is a very big asset in these positions. I think this is going to be harder for her to draw than the rook endgame, but still very much drawable.
Right. I totally get what you mean. Yeah. Although here she goes.
King f6. Yeah.
You're showing that like the knight on e5 wasn't also anchored, right? It's not like it had a pawn on f6 anchoring it so that it's a beast of a piece. The knight's getting chased around.
Yep, and it's very easy when that happens. It's very easy to blunder. Here hg, now white on doubles for pawns. Rook d1 is possible. There's all these moves hanging in the balance. Rook c7. Katarina could start pushing her pawn slowly. she's also got to watch the clock. Anything possible here. Any blunders from either side. Knight d3 is the draw. But Sarah choosing to reroute her knight. I like it.
Now we've got our knight to an anchored square. We don't have to stress as much.
Although g4.
Oh, yeah, that's
maybe
true.
knight h4, but okay.
Knight h6. Okay. Knight f7, and look at the pawns go, but where are they going?
Rook e7, and that pawn on g6 is a very big weakness. So rook e7 here, rook c7. I'm telling you, this is h5, g6. h5 here is very much possible.
Oh, yeah.
But Katarina choosing to chase Sarah's knight. She is also very low on time. She's got to watch
exactly. She's got to play quickly. So it's not all about accurate moves here. Knight e4 check was a threat.
1 second. She's got to make a move. Oh, I always get nervous in these situations. Rook h4. Oh, missing a chance there.
That was, and usually Sarah sees that stuff. She's just playing
Bishop
so
e6.
fast.
Oh, she's going in the wrong direction, but Katarina choosing to bail out. This is a dead draw. I don't see a way. Right. I don't think there's a way for white to make progress here. I mean, she can try. She can bring her king to e5. This isn't over, but but Sarah, I think going the wrong direction. Her knight could get trapped here.
Oh, yes, it could.
Oh, bishop b2. Oh,
look at that move.
King c3. Oh, my goodness. She's trapped her knight.
The domination.
Oh, my goodness. Loup at that. Oh, what a painful loss.
Check. Well, she still had an opportunity before the bishop got
time's up, so this isn't going to be aborted. Unbelievable persistence by Katarina, and up 3-0 at the end of the 5-minute portion as time runs out.
Wow, Danya, what a masterclass in the power of the bishop versus the knight in both of Katarina's white games. She showed, and both of them were Roy Lopez's. So, yeah, in the first, it was the dark squared bishop, and then in this one, the light squared bishop. We saw that power. Indeed,
we did. Uncanny resemblance between the two games. And we saw the same arc, right? At first, she was better. Then she relinquished some of her advantage, but kept the legs churning. And eventually she was awarded incredible performance.
Well, Katarina Milano is a phenomenal blitz player. She is a grandmaster, and Sarah Kadim is showing some good defensive skills, but not enough to get on the board. But we are going to be back in just a couple minutes for the 3-minute portion of this contest, and I can't wait to see as the times get shorter. Hello, welcome back. And we are getting faster here in the Women's Speed Chess Championships as Sarah Kadim and Katerina Lano are just momentarily about to start the 3-minute portion of this contest.
They are, and definitely some coming back to do for Sarah. She's down 3 points, all 3 games in the 5-minute portion, ending in Katerina's favor. But we've seen over the months and the years so many times comebacks of epic proportions being put on. So the match certainly not even close to being anywhere near over. And once again, Sarah is such a resilient player. If anyone could come back from a deficit like this, it is Sarah Kadam.
And I don't think Katerina Lano is overconfident because, guys, yesterday she also had such a tumultuous day with many wins in a row, then a couple losses. So yeah, she'll keep fighting hard. And here we have another King's Indian defense with knight c6. This was so entertaining the first time around. I'm glad to see it repeat. Remember last time Katerina had this creative concept of playing h5, h4 quickly.
Right, and this time maybe Sarah will react to something like h3. Knight h5 this time by Katerina seems a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit less outlandish, but I like outlandish. In the King's Indian, such creativity sometimes pays off, and it did. Here, of course, preparing f5, and I actually like it when openings are repeated. It shows, as we discussed a little bit earlier, that both players are dedicated and believe in their openings, and that might sound a little bit cheesy, but I think that it's good when players stand for something and believe in their openings. We get theoretical battles. We actually get games that might be helpful for students of these openings.
You got to believe in something, right?
Absolutely. And a6, Katerina playing on both sides of the board, preparing b5. She could consider bishop to d7 here. Preparing b5, knight f6, sort of driving 2 cars at the same time, queenside and kingside.
Yeah. If you take on e4, if we take on e4, you'd really ultimately like to take with a piece, right? So I'm guessing queen c2 might be the move here.
Queen d2, yeah. Now maybe she could take on e4, but Sarah eyeing that knight on a5. c5 here is always a possibility for black, or b6, reinforcing the knight.
Yeah, so if takes on e4, you were going to take, well, she played bishop to d7. Mm-hmm. So this idea of b5 coming into the position, which will actually tickle your e-pawn.
Yep, and knight d1 hitting the knight, and now Sarah maneuvering her knight to f2, which is a very typical, but f4 is possible here. That rook on a1 could become a target of some knight takes d4 business. So that's something that both players need to keep in mind.
Right. I guess at the end of the day, we could play bishop d4 instead of try to recapture the pawn. But point. Then we've opened up our king considerably.
So Katerina, very typical King's Indian idea, as we saw in the last game, maneuvering her knight to c5 in order to put more pressure on the e4 pawn. And it's not that her queenside strategy has failed. She has forced some positional concessions in sort of among white's ranks. So I would say the position is probably dynamically balanced. Sarah deciding to change the pawn structure. It's a very typical idea as well, taking on f5 and striking with f4.
And now queen e8 played. I guess the idea of playing knight g4, queen h5, or queen g6, just kind of supporting the transfer of our pieces to the king side.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, and queen g6 on the board. And f takes c5, bishop takes c5 is possible, followed by knight d3. Katerina may have underestimated her pawn structure. On the other hand, in very typical King's Indian, knight c1, that just smells a little bit too passive, but obviously Sarah's intention very clear. She's maneuvering her knight to d3. But Katerina now with e4, knight g4 is possible. Sarah playing, chiseling her way down black's weak squares. I'm not sure it's enough, though. Look at Katerina's pawns. She's got the 2 bishops, and she does have a stronghold on d4. So practically, I kind of like her position here.
Knight f4 played.
Queen can come to d6 to blockade the center and also defend the weak pawn on c. Bad pawns defend good squares. So it's that pawn on c5 also defends that stronghold on d4. Maybe the queen could shuffle its way over to b6 to defend the a pawn and prepare a4 after taking the knight, of course.
Yeah, it's a good point about that pawn on c5. I certainly wouldn't want to see that go, especially because when we play knight f4, sometimes we can play bishop d4 check and just hit you with e3.
Right, and that's a bishop queen d6 chosen by Katarina. Now her point is, I would actually maybe snatch that pawn on a5, because if you don't, then a4 comes, and that's exactly what Sarah does. Kudos there, going for the critical line. Katarina might double on the a file. Rook a3 looks very, very tempting here as well. So again, I think the computer might say white's better, but black certainly has the initiative here, practically speaking.
Okay, rook to a8, threatening to get in this exchange with rook takes a2, queen a2, rook a2, rook a2. I feel like that would favor black.
Yep, potentially. That's definitely... Katarina is not even really in a hurry. She can hang that over white's head also.
Yeah, maybe, especially after this move, bishop h3, maybe that helps white a little bit in those lines. And she can stick in this in-between move, bishop d4, as well as... what about the move e3 here? Is that a move that we want to interpolate or no?
It's interesting for sure. She does go for rook takes a2. e3 is also possible here. She could also move her king out of the way. e3 played. I don't know what to make of this position. I think Sarah needs to be very careful. Knight e6 here is possible, trying to take the sting out of black's initiative. So black's king could pay the price ultimately if the position opens up, but so can white's. I mean, this is really anybody's game, I think.
But a little easier, in my opinion, to play with the queen, which is why this was attractive to me, just because white's rooks are discoordinated at the moment.
Indeed, and the b3 pawn is also very weak, which she attacks.
Yeah, like you'd love to be able to just like take on f5 and, you know, connect your rooks, but it's going to be too slow because that e pawn is coming with such force.
The rook d8 here, now that I've noticed, I think rook d8 might be a very unpleasant move for black because the bishop has nowhere to go. Ooh. A twist of fortune here, rook d8. I think that picks off the bishop because queen d6
really?
runs into bishop takes f5. I mean, what foresight here by Sarah to find this move.
What about at the end of that line e2? It doesn't do anything?
Probably I can go rook e1. That knight on g2 looks very passive, but it actually reinforces that rook. So Katarina will probably have to jettison her bishop, maybe take on b3, but okay, bishop b5, interesting move. But this looks like too much material now for white. It's not over. She's got that e-pawn, and she's got a lot of pawns, actually. Far from over, but definitely in the driver's seat is Sarah now.
Yeah, I definitely underestimated that lone rook. Kind of like hitting us. I figured, you know, there is nothing there. It was just a rook. But that sole rook did some serious damage.
Indeed it did, and bishop takes f5, the bishop coming into the game. Katarina desperately trying to push that c-pawn, but that c-pawn is going fast. Oh my goodness, this is anything. Oh, c2. Oh my, ed, look at that position. The two pawns promoting. Sarah blundering here. Oh,
those
my
pawns
goodness.
Are too strong.
King f7 or king f8 is also possible. Yep, d1 queen. It's just winning for black now. So we see again the value of practical play prevailing here, and another very painful blow here for Sarah if Katarina drives this point home, which is not a fact. She's got 5 seconds. Anything can happen.
What tremendous play by Katarina Lano, though, to fight back after her opponent played that great move, finding... Oh, wait. What happened?
Okay, she picks it off with queen c2. Fortunate there for Katarina. Queen d7. And this is not an easy win. Not far from over. This might be a fortress. The rook on f4. Katarina should have gone king e6, I think. Now it's going to be very hard to make any progress.
Oh boy, I thought there was a win there earlier with like when we picked up queen c2 check, but I guess this fortress was impossible to avoid, huh?
Right. Well, she's got to try to put her queen on the second rank when white's king is on the third rank. Ooh, very tricky there. King h3, there was checkmate. And she's trying to provoke Zugzwang. The problem is white's rook has a lot of potential squares it can get onto, and a draw by repetition. Good job by Sarah holding that together.
Wow, that was faster than I thought it would be. I think it was a mistaken repetition probably from Katarina's point of view.
Yeah. But
and now we have the first point on the board for, not full point, but the first score on the board for Sarah, as she now has gotten a very well-deserved draw in a really crazy game. Are we going to see games like that in the 1 minute portion?
Yeah, I mean, we see very hard fought games. This is not a one sided match despite the score. But Sarah has to act pretty fast because, there isn't a lot of time left. This is, I think, a pivotal game. She definitely has to avoid losing it. She plays the bishop c5 line once again. This is a line that affords black winning chances for sure. The position is quite unbalanced. So, she'll have her chance, I think, and she's got to try to use it here.
Yeah, bishop g5, h6. Huh.
ED. So she's ceding the center, but maybe she has a specific follow-up in mind. I'm not sure what it is, though. CD?
Yeah, because now knight c3, for instance, comes with such power because the pin on the knight on f6 is so much more devastating when we've got a piece coming to d5. And that's why she cut it with g5.
Right, and knight e7, maybe b4 now. I don't know if Katarina's anticipated b4, followed by knight takes e4. But for some reason, there was something I was missing.
e5.
But now e5, this looks terrible, to be honest. e5.
Yeah, now that
and
we
black's
can play
position
e5, that's
is
good.
so just positionally weak after that move g5. But I think Katarina has this window of opportunity. She's got to act before Sarah consolidates with something like knight h5, and she does. e5 scene.
Okay, she took. Okay, I was thinking bishop f3, the greedy move, but perhaps
maybe
way
you have
too
to
greedy.
try that. I mean, I think that
we don't have time to take anything on d4 because knight g6 is not a threat of a trade. It's a threat of the win of the piece because the pawn on f7 is pinned.
Yeah, this looks, man, does this look bad. I think king g7 is forced here. You got to get the king out of that devastating pin, as you mentioned, Jennifer, but that doesn't really help the long-term weaknesses in black's position. Katarina could replace that knight on e5 with a bishop, which would pin the knight on f6. This looking very bad for Sarah now. And she's dipping down on the clock as well, 40 seconds down. That's not helping her cause either. 97 chosen.
97, but it looks so suspicious. I mean, I'm looking at how I can attack in this position. Let's see.
Yeah, maybe
d4 isn't take right now.
Right, maybe just a slow roll with queen c2, preparing to put a rook on d1 and sacking that pawn. That's one option.
Right, because we still have all those nasty little potential tricks on g6, right?
Exactly. Even queen c2, bishop takes d4, knight g6 possible immediately. I'm not a huge fan of that move, knight e2. She's clinging to that pawn, which I understand, but now yielding the e4 square to black's knight. The d5 square could be used as a blockading square. c5, though, by Sarah, opening up the center. Okay.
Oh, well,
trading queens.
I would think there's a sigh of relief to get to trade queens here for black.
Right, but knight d still an initiative, though.
Yeah, it is. It is still an initiative, but could relax a little bit more compared to some of those positions where you were just like sticking a knight on g6. Rook c1, right. Rook c8, but you're talking about knight d7, right?
Yep, and knight d7 plain on the board. Rook takes c5 first was also possible to remove the defender on the e7 knight. Definitely, I mean, now maybe bishop c6 here keeps things together, although the rook could just go back to d1 and bishop could potentially come to d6. Yep, Sarah finds it. But simply rook d1 followed by bishop d6. White is better here, undoubtedly. We've seen several of these endgames where Katarina has an initiative, but Sarah defending very precisely, equalizing the time. Rook c7, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so those bishops lined up on the c file. But you blutters the knight!
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, and that's just painful, and resignation follows.
Hi, that's painful indeed. It's not been an easy day for Sarah. Katarina is just playing so well. I mean, the way she's playing, you can understand why she was almost in the final. The match with her and Valentina really going to the absolute wire here.
I mean, just aggressive, enterprising, initiative-driven chess. That's exactly how you should play in Blitz. And
honestly, it makes me like your pick even more. I'm sticking with Anna Ushenina, but I think that your pick of Valentina looks even better as we see how well Katarina is playing, because Valentina beat Katarina a couple days ago.
I mean, given the way Katarina plays, that is no small no small feat. And here we see another King's Indian again. This knight c65 variation. A comeback is not impossible, but and I keep saying this every single game. Like, Sarah has to win this game, but Sarah really has to win this game.
Yeah, well, a comeback is not impossible, but it is unlikely. Remember, Danya, you're used to calling so many speed chess championships with a little more time on the clock overall, I think.
Right.
So the dynamics are a little different. You know, you only get 10 minutes in that 1 minute portion.
Yeah, that is not a lot of time. So if Sarah could bring this down to, let's say, 2 points, then it's possible. But just mathematically, if the lead stays 4 or 5, a comeback will be very, very difficult. Here we see b5 by Katarina. Rook c1 is a very crafty move. If b takes c4, b4, I think, will follow, excommunicating that knight. Now, Katarina up a pawn here, that pawn on c4, but knight b1, knight t2. We see just positional mastery displayed by Sarah, but it's just not ending up being enough. So a5 now opening up the queen side. Once again, Katarina going for the initiative.
I wonder if they're going to play this line in bullet chess, Nanya, because this is wild to play in bullet. I hope so.
It would be. Yep. It's man. But they're so principled. They're sticking to that line, which again I really like. But this is easier to play for with a black side, and even in blitz, I mean, you know, it's just the position is a little bit more maneuverable for black. White's driving a bus here. Oh, now that d5 pawn is weak. This not looking great again. Knight takes d5 blundered. Oh, and Sarah really struggling here. Knight takes d5 is a huge pawn. Oh, this is nasty, nasty, nasty here for Sarah. Knight takes b4 even possible. Bishop a4. Knight takes b4. Knight d3. This is collapsing inward here for Sarah, unfortunately.
This is an advertisement for the King's Indian.
It is. Queen knight bc5 comes to the rescue here.
I mean, look at these pieces all over white in the position, and it just goes to show, like, you give something with the King's Indian, but what you get is the chance to win in brilliant style, you know, and not have to even try to equalize. Just skip right past equalization to crawling all over your opponent.
Yeah,
very, very nice. And driving
BC...
a bus, by the way, I haven't heard that expression. You mean white's position is just hard to maneuver, especially in blitz?
It's I mean, if you know how to maneuver it, you can really do some damage. But you know, if in a blitz game, you just got to spend a lot of time sort of maintaining stuff. So the dynamics of this aren't always in white's favor, and this is just a miserable position for Sarah. You know, we definitely feel for her. It's when you lose, you know, you start losing these 50-50 games, it can be so hard to keep your composure. So, you know, nothing taken away from Katarina, who's playing amazing chess, but just a very, very difficult situation to be in for Sarah.
Absolutely. And if she resigns fast, Danya, she'll get a chance to play 2 more blitz games, which I think she needs. Right. So Sarah probably doesn't want this to last too long, because if it does, there might only be one. There might only be well, there'll be 2 anyway. Never mind. There should be 2 almost regardless.
This is still maybe salvageable if she tries to smoke out that knight, but the problem is e4 could come to the knight's support. Ugh. This is, like you said, Jen, an advertisement. Order now and you'll receive 2 free copies of the King's Indian for free. Just pay shipping and handling, and the King's Indian will be at your door in days.
It sounds like you do want to write an opening about it, a book about it.
I'm passionate about it. I don't keep that a secret. I don't even remember who taught me the King's Indian, but I've been playing it for so many years now.
Somebody take credit. Rook to b8 played, and Queen c2 now. Let's see. What about Rook b2?
Rook b2. Oh, very much possible. That's a great move. Knight b4.
Where do you put your queen?
Oh, but Queen c3. Wait a minute, Jen. Queen c3. Oh, and that could have maybe introduced some cacophony within white-black's ranks. I don't know. Now Rook, now e4, but f4, anything is crushing here.
Yeah, look at white's pieces. I mean, they're all relegated to these horrible squares, right? Like every single one of white's pieces.
Oh, that's a knife.
Nice. Yeah. Yes, bishop to b5. Look at the bishop on g2, the knights on c1 and d2. These are the queen on d1. Horrible pieces for white.
Yeah, this is horrendous. D5, D4 is devastating. F4 is
Oh, I like
possible.
d5. Oh, that looks juicy.
E4, yep, E4 is also good. A bishop A4 now wins an exchange.
Yeah. When
So,
every single aggressive move is good for one side, you know that it's
mhm.
not salvageable.
Yeah,
But
exactly. That's a great point, right? It's almost like impossible to make a mistake in these positions. But I'm not sure about this. Bishop takes okay, knight F2 there at the end. Yeah, knight F2 is crushing.
nice idea. Knight f2. And you can't take because you'd be getting mated on h2. And meanwhile, we're also threatening knight h3 check.
Yeah, knight takes E4 now.
So knight takes e4. Just one last mouse mouse trick. If we
Yeah,
somehow didn't play
exactly.
knight e4, queen h7 is mate. But
Oh,
instead, Katerina winning another nice game, 5.5 out of half. Katerina shows no mercy in these situations. I told you
no.
about it earlier, Danya, against the very strongs on Sai Abdul Malik. She started 9.5 out of 10.
I was watching that. That was a crazy match. I mean, and you know, that's takes a certain kind of strength, you know, to keep things going when you start winning. You don't take your foot off the gas pedal. That's certainly not easy.
Yeah, it's
And
very underrated chess quality, I'd say. People always talk about, fighting back when you're losing. Like that's so important and formidable. But yeah, we talk about that a lot. But what about the person who just keeps playing at the same level even as they're crushing and crushing and crushing? That's not easy.
absolutely, psychologically, it's so easy to just relax when you're up 3, 4 points. But Katarina's showing, as you pointed out, Jen, that this consistency in her level here, and it's paying off for sure.
That's
And another Rai Lopez.
relentlessness. Relentless is Katerina Lano, D5 here. But 97, and it's kind of surprising because the games have all been such great fights. To see this score five
Yeah,
and a half half, it doesn't really seem real to me.
it does not. Yeah, you're absolutely right. These games have been close. Sarah has demonstrated some excellent ideas. And here again, I like her position out of the opening. She's undermining White's pawn center. But those critical moments, I mean, it's just the decisions that Katarina makes in crucial middle game moments just seem to be just marginally better, and they accumulate fast. She's getting also better practical positions, which are somewhat easier to play, more initiatives, and that also pays off in a blitz game.
All right, bishop b6, queen b6, and c4.
Typical response there for Roy Lopez.
Yeah, I'm starting. I think I'm liking this. This more for white after this transition. What about knight g6 here for black?
Yeah, I like that idea. Knight g6, knight f4. Sarah dropping her queen back. The idea is now to play b takes c4 so that knight takes c4 does not come with tempo. Katarina defining the center here. Taking and taking. And now d6 is weak, but Sarah could use that as an asset to play d5 later on. So very double-edged position here. Anything can happen.
Rook c1 though, good looking move. Wait, okay, rook d8. So the bishop
Yeah,
on
for a
c6 is
second
a
I
little
thought.
loose.
Yeah, I thought for a second that was possible, but
Yeah, because we've been
okay.
talking about playing knight e7. Queen e2, knight d7 instead. It still makes me nervous keeping that piece like semi-loose there.
Yep,
Like
it's
at some
very easy
point.
to forget about this stuff.
Oh, queen e3, taking advantage of the pin. Of course, we don't really want to give up our bishop on b3 for a knight. Nope, after knight takes b3, instead of recapturing, we will actually take the big gun on a7.
Yep.
So after queen b7, do expect Katerina to remove her bishop from danger because it's the heart of the position,
But
Danya. I don't want
there
to give
might
that
be
away for a knight.
knight takes c5 might be possible here actually. Yep.
Oh,
And this knight b3, knight c6. Oh, knight takes d8 there at the end comes with tempo, hitting the queen, and then white recaptures the knight on c1. A just incredible level of tactical alertness displayed by Katarina throughout the match, and she picks off a pawn. This is
we can
not
take with the
looking good
rook
for Sarah.
here.
Yep,
Yeah, very nice
exactly.
calculation there, Tanya. Just again showing the power of takes, takes, takes.
Indeed.
Another underrated quality, just analyzing those forcing variations with or without tactics.
Cold hard calculation, one of the hardest skills in chess, and Katarina displaying it to the full extent of her mastery. Now knight f3 is very good because if bishop takes e4, there's rook c7 picking off that crucial f7 pawn. Oh, but knight f3, there's rook d3 maybe? Although the queen there moves away, that's even not a big problem because bishop on c6 is also hanging.
So. True. And then the problem is whenever we win your bishop on c6, we're also threatening the devastating rook c7.
Exactly.
So rook f8, she's now in the tank is Katerina. We know that she does this. She plays pretty quickly, and then she chooses a few key moments to think hard. Rook 1 c2 played, so she's just actually bolstering her knight on d2. I guess she didn't like removing the defense of the bishop on b3.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. She's holding everything together. What really hurts Sarah here is, again, that bishop on c6. We pointed that out. You pointed that out very early in the game, Jen, and now it's really hurting Sarah. She's got to divide her attention on defending that bishop with rook d6. I mean, moving the bishop, as we already know, meets with rook c7. So
rook 8 d6, and this queen e1 idea also was clever because queen c1 now setting up the famed Alekhine's gun.
Indeed, that's a very good point, and that might force black to go knight e7, and that in turn drops the e5 pawn. So very good observation there.
By the way, for those of you who don't know the expression, the Alekhine's gun is when you get three major pieces, specifically the two rooks and the queen in the back, on the same file, and there it is.
There it is.
It's just so powerful, this heavy artillery coming to get you.
Indeed, and Sarah with a very unsavory decision to be made. Now, I guess she does have to move her bishop, but if she moves it, there's rook c7. If she goes knight e7, the e5 pawn hangs. So her only asset potentially is that knight on d2. Maybe she could mount an Alekhine's gun of her own. Two Alekhine's guns possible after queen d7. What an amusing situation that arises, but I don't think queen d7 immediately is possible.
Sorry about that arrow. That last arrow was not very impressive. That's a drunken rook arrow. Knight f4 instead.
Wait a minute.
Removing the evidence of the terribly drawn arrow, but rook takes c6.
So rook takes c6, rook takes c6, rook takes d2 is probably what Sarah has planned, but then rook c7. Oh, and 10 seconds left. This is going out of control again for Sarah. Rook c7 now is possible. You can take on d6 and go rook c7. Rook ch also possible. Just 2 pawns up is Katerina is going to be in the endgame here.
Right, because that's 7 hanging at the end, huh?
Right. Okay. So here.
Yeah, it's 6-4, as you pointed out, and I mean the knight on f4 is a good piece, but that's not enough.
Nope. G3 can come with chasing the knight away, and it's in Katerina's favor to take her time here, ensuring that the next game will be the last of the segment, and she will. She's got time here. Sarah, clinging to the game hand and foot, but it's just not 2 pawns. It's just too much. And queen g8 now coming with devastating effect. Queen g8, queen e8, right. For example.
There are extra benefits to being up 2 pawns, and one of them is that your opponent has fewer pawns to defend themselves with.
And look at the methodical. Katerina not hurrying, very methodical. H5. Queen d8 is forced here. And Sarah simply chooses to resign. And the next game with 2.5 minutes left, quite possibly, will be the last of the segment.
Yeah. I think they got in one more than I expected, Danya, because I thought that there might only be 2 left earlier, but there were 3 left. And here we have it, another King's Indian defense. We've had so much fun calling these ones.
Yep, and here we see a transition actually into a Grunfeld. So Katerina choosing to go d5. This is one of the topical variations of the Grunfeld. e5 here is possible. Rook e8. Yep, this is all theory.
So we're playing for e5 here. Note that when we have a knight on c6 in the Grunfeld, it usually means we're going to play for e5. We're not going to acquiesce to no counterplay against the center. Then it wouldn't be a true Grunfeld.
Right, exactly. So it's good to see a little variation, not going to lie, but I still think this is theory. I'm not myself too much of a specialist. But normally black has a good position in these lines. c6 is possible, blunting white's bishop, and controlling d5. Yep, played.
Yeah, it's not a particularly scary position here, I think, compared to some things that you get tested with in the Grunfeld. The bishop on g2 is somewhat blunted. You don't have some formidable, scary center. So I'd agree that it's not terrifying. F4, though, hey, she's going to try to get her center going just by playing e4 next move.
Right, and she has to. That's sort of White's main source of counterplay. Otherwise, White can just get crushed like a bug here, by Black's very active pieces. What Katarina could do is go bishop back to g7 and then place a bishop on e6 and potential. Ooh, very
I was
concrete.
very strange for a Grunfeld player because you don't expect that. So I thought her idea was to take on e3 at the end of the line.
It's actually a very positional concept. She's basically banking on her control over the light squares, bishop e4 and knight d5. So this looks very suspicious, but it's actually justified from a positional standpoint. I'm not going to say I love this idea, but I think it's very interesting, that's for sure. And now queen takes e3. There's queen takes e3 and bishop d6. So very good tactical alertness here by Sara. But will it be enough here? Will White's counterplay with the bishops be enough to compensate for the weakness of the e4 square?
Well, bishop g4 now is a positional threat, right?
Yep, good point.
We'd love to take that light squared bishops off the board and just have the knight on c4, d5 contesting the bishop on d6.
Right, bishops. Yeah, exactly. That's such a devastating blockade on the central square. So Sara trying to find a way to worm her way out of the situation, but now knight c4 is coming with very strong effect. So once again, excellent decision making by Katarina time and time again, and now offering a transition into an opposite colored bishop position with very weak light squares for White. Now bishop e4. Yeah, this is looking bad for White.
The nice thing about this for Black also is a lot of it, once you have this concept, the moves come quickly, right? So it's not so surprising to see Katarina with a time advantage here. And now she's played rook d4, saying that if queen e3, rook e3, be careful, there's rook d5.
Right, so she wants to take with a knight here.
And then you have rook d7, so at least there's some counterplay there.
Right, not sure about that from Katarina, but b5, I guess, keeps everything protected.
B5, good move, right? Because if rook b8 or something passive like that, we have bishop d6.
Right, exactly.
Or bishop a7, taking you away from the defense of the b pawn. But b5 looks smart.
Right, and we see again this pattern of Katarina taking her time in positions that she thinks are critical, and she decides to give the pawn back, but paves the way for the rook to come to e2. So it's possible. This is definitely an interesting idea from a practical standpoint. Once again, her pieces are simply more active, but I like that move, rook f1, aiming for f2, taking this thing out of Black's rook.
Very smart move. Yes, that's the kind of move that people don't really understand. Why are they losing games that other people are defending? It's because of those little quick moves, right? Rook c2, bishop a3 played. Okay, what? But now rook e8, and you better get rook f2 in now. But can you, Danya? Because there's rook e1 check and knight e3.
Ooh, that's scary. But I think you can get away with it because the king can run to f3. So I think that's possible. Although I am going to say this is very close. Rook f2 played. I think she has to do that. And officially time is up. So this will be the final game of the segment.
Yeah.
A must win really for Sara. I mean, it's still going to be tough, but she's got to somehow pull this game out. And for Katarina, if rook f1, I would even consider repeating moves. She's fine with the draw, but Sara going for it. Now knight e3 check is possible, followed by f5. Yep, f5 first.
Yeah, well, Katarina showed us earlier in the match the power of the bishop versus the knights, and now she's trying to do the opposite in this game, Danya, and show the power of the knight versus the inadequate bishop on a3.
Yeah, I mean, I think the king could tuck itself away on h3 perhaps, but the rook on b7 should not be underestimated, especially if White's bishop comes into the game with b3, bishop b2, sort of a fianchetto from the other side. b4, okay. Ooh, rook b1's a painful move, though. That rook on b7 is hanging. So Sara having to give away the b2. That's not the end of the world, though, because she does have counterplay against Black's king.
But what about knight e3 check?
Also possible, and knight d1?
Yeah, knight d1, that was my idea, but you might have rook g7 check, king f8. I don't know, though.
Right,
even there.
Very complicated. Knight takes b4 chosen by... Now rook d2, I think, is a must. You can't let the knight come to d3. That does not seem like a very savory alternative for White.
I agree. Rook d2, you got to do it. She's done it.
And she does.
40
Now,
seconds for Katarina, 20 for Sarah.
I'm going to tell you, this is anybody's game. Rook g7, rook takes h7. Sarah remaining on top here. Katarina's going to activate her second rook, would be my guess, with the rook e1. Absolutely anyone's game here in the time scramble. So, buckle in, as they say. Now, the knight cannot leave d5 because there's going to be something called checkmate happening on d8. Okay.
Wait, okay, and it looks like Katarina here is satisfied with a draw, but Sarah keeps playing.
Kudos to Sarah. She's trying her best here, but it might not be good enough.
No, I don't think there's enough games in the match. Nope.
And 97. Look at that knight now restricting White's pieces. King f7 is possible here. And that a2 pawn is also hanging, so...
Yeah, I think I would have, I think the draw there, but I love that Sarah keeps going for it anyway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. She had to. Now, here's the problem. The knight can come to g4 and threaten checkmate. Try that on for size.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Wait, what's going on here?
Ooh, king activates itself, okay. But this looks still like a draw. Rook g3. Bailing out here, I think. Knight f4 check. Oh,
another mate threat.
Rook h. Ooh, this is not looking good for. Oh my gosh, she won the rook.
No.
Oh my goodness.
She did it.
Wow. What alertness.
This will be her first win of the match if she does indeed win this.
She will, because that bishop is very capable at, together with a rook, of stopping the pass pawn, navigating her king. Yeah, okay, this wins. Wow.
Well, it was the commentator's reverse jinx, as I said that the bishop was inadequate earlier. I called it inadequate. I think I meant inept.
Right. No, yeah, definitely.
But now it's working. Now it's working.
Yeah.
It's stopping that c pawn from queening.
Whenever, there's a knight. Okay, don't go king d4 there. She doesn't. Look at Katarina's jumpy knight there. I mean, this is not elementary, but bishop b2 is a good move, chasing everything away.
And Katarina's also about to flag.
Yep, king d2 picks off the pawn.
And there we go.
And it's over. Yeah.
There is Sarah's first win of the event. Love to see it.
Indeed. And that is the last game of the match, of the 3-minute portion.
Yeah, there won't be another 3-minute portion, but it's always nice to see the player who's getting clobbered come back with the win, because this is a more accurate representation of the score. She shouldn't have lost all of her games.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely kudos for finding that rook a8 move instantly. So we'll see how the bullet segment goes, but we'll let the players catch their breath.
Yes, thank you everybody for watching. Shout out, I actually have, Danya, some of my students at the girls club rooms at US Chess. Awesome. It's really nice to see some, people getting inspiration from these top female players in the world. Not that boys and men can't get inspiration from them as well, but no,
definitely. That's awesome.
Yeah, with girls and women being underrepresented in the world, it's really nice to see the fans come out and root them on. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are going to be right back for more in just a few minutes. And when I say more, I mean we are back for Tanya's favorite part, bullet chess, 1 minute. We'll see you in a couple. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Women's Speed Chess Championships coverage. I'm Jennifer Shahadi. I'm here with Grandmaster Adanya Naroditsky, and we are about to get into the 1 minute portion of our third place match.
Indeed, we are, and it's been a pleasure commentating with you, Jennifer. I'm so pumped to see this bullet portion, and of course to see the first place match as well. We've got so much action yet to be played out, and I'm not keeping it a secret. I love bullet. What are your experiences with bullet, Jennifer? Did you used to play bullet back in the old days? What's your attitude toward 1 minute chess?
Well, I think it's great for people who are good at it, but I was never too great at it, I have to say. So
Unacceptable.
yeah.
I'm leaving the commentary.
What's that? But no, Danya, that's why I'm asking though. Like, give us some bullet tips that are, maybe lesser known. Because obviously people say play fast. I mean, and play like I remember once I was asking my brother how to get my puzzle rush score up, and he was like, "Oh, make the first 20 ones faster, like in 30 seconds." I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah, I mean, one good thing is to with increment, it's not as pertinent because again, there's increment, but one good practice is to kind of figure out how much time it takes you to deliver basic checkmate. So like what is the least amount of time you need to checkmate with queen and king against king, knowing your mouse speed and stuff like that. What is the least amount of time it takes you to mate, let's say, with rook against king? And that can be a sort of a time marker that allows you to tailor your play. But with 1+1, I think the only time that you can actually think is when you're losing. So some people don't realize when you're losing in a bullet game, sometimes it pays to take a lot of time and devise some sort of trap. Other than that, you've got to keep a consistent pace of play.
Well, 1-1 is very different than 1-0, indeed.
Right.
And I think
entirely different game.
Yeah, and that is, but it's nice that we have that because there is that lesser chance of it just being somebody flagging someone with queen versus pawn or whatnot.
Right. Definitely raises the quality of play. So no doubt
But,
about that.
Still, I mean, especially the ones that aren't bullet specialists, they can still get flagged. The 1 second increment is just so short.
Yeah, it expires. You might think, oh, 1 second, I can really gain some time. But no, when you're in the heat of the moment, in the throes of a difficult game, that 1 second is gone before you know it. And
yeah,
they are repeating the opening.
Yeah, not surprising. Sarah was very big on sticking with her openings in the last BHS championships as well.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, let's take a look in the position itself. White just plays c4, knight takes c4, hits that pawn on d6 and b6. So the unfortunate move, knight b8, but at least it's played quickly.
Right, but now knight a5 and a4. This is a positional crunch going on the queen side. Sarah's got to try to get a 5 in as quickly as possible, but I'm not sure. Oh, knight c6 there is possible.
Yeah, knight c6 looked nasty, picking up that rook on a8.
So is this. That pawn on b5.
Knight c6 anyway.
Yep.
Knight
this
c6
is just terrible for black.
Anyway,
queen g5. She's got to try.
Well, she's played knight f4. Okay, I didn't even notice that was there. And then queen g5. Idea being that at least we can snack on a pawn on h3 check.
Right. The issue being king moves away. Oh no. Okay. So knight takes d7 wins.
Oh yeah, because we're gonna win. We're gonna be up a whole rook. Oh dear. Unless you can play knight takes f2 here.
Right, but then knight takes f8. And if knight takes d3, there's rook d1. Forcing essentially the queen trade. So Katarina's just got to find. Okay, this is less convincing, I think. Queen takes d3, also winning for sure. Rook takes f2. Even that endgame is nasty. But Sarah,
yeah, the bishop on d3 is hanging now at least. So this wasn't as strong as what we were just looking at. What? Queen d3 check.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but queen g5 is interesting. Queen f5. No, queen g5 was a bad move, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought queen d3 check would have made sense, and then king g4, bishop d7, but instead she went this way, and white is just up a whole rook. So black resign.
It's not going Sarah's way are these games. Just not quite sensing the tactical moment. Yeah. The King's Indian repeated.
Another King's Indian, another Fianchetto, another. Well, hey there, Grunfeld.
No,
I
I
do
don't.
like
I
it.
don't accept Grunfeld's. That is unacceptable opening. It's a
And last time we
travesty
had
not to
a
play the King's Indian.
last time we had a different treatment with E5, right? So this is a little different with a
Right.
E3 rather, and then E5 by black.
Yeah. This is again. I mean, very dynamic opening. Both sides having their chances in the center. Katarina grabbing B2, very principled. And that's what I really appreciate about these players in this match. They are not doing anything offbeat. They are going for the main lines and they are sticking to their guns, win or lose. And wherever you stand on the opening spectrum, that is to be respected. I think that's very admirable quality, as I mentioned before. So,
but it's also admirable to mix it up. So it's kind of like positivity.
That's true. I'm definitely belong to the second camp. I'll play every. Oh, knight b2 wins an exchange there. Okay.
Knight d2. Okay.
I meant knight b2. Knight b2, knight d3.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, not anymore, but still, Katarina on top here. She's up a pawn.
And up 20 seconds too.
Yep, which is huge. Remember, it's a bullet game. Rook takes d8, though. There's knight captures a5, and the a6 bishop and Tsar. Knight d2 now is very interesting.
Yeah, knight d2 threatening knight f3 check.
Yep.
Very irritating move, no doubt. Got to cover that square. Bishop g2 was played. I like bishop f1 just because I've never seen that pattern. Have you ever seen that pattern?
Bishop f1. That's an incredible move. I've never seen that before.
I don't know if it was any good though.
I think it was. That was an incredible move. Even just to play it to look cool for a second.
I know. You're up 7.5, 1.5.
All right, you can
give the
take some liberties.
Bishop f1 action.
But Katarina going for sort of the Russian school of chess. I'm keeping the pressure on the position, but okay, this is a draw. I think, or maybe better for black. Rook t4, rook a1, and then bishop f1 maybe. So anybody's endgame here, but Katarina pushing her pawn to c4. Ooh, c3. Rook c1. Okay, Katarina can also just choose to bail out. Or okay, rook d2 is winning on the spot. Yeah, not Sarah's match.
And now king g1, rook d1 check, king e3, rook takes g2, and Katarina wins another game. As we see, just a really tough match for Sarah. Katarina playing so well.
Just using all her opportunities, and just painful for Sarah. It's always painful to be in a match like this. You're counting the seconds until it ends, but it just happens sometimes. It just doesn't go your way.
Yeah, it's part of blitz. You don't have time to get out tilt, right?
Right, exactly. Much like American tournaments, 2 games a day. You get tilted and it's just the next game comes so quickly.
So knight g6, we've seen this again. We're seeing same types of openings, and luckily for us, they're interesting ones.
Yeah, definitely. Principled Rylov. At least it's not an exchange Slav. Otherwise, we would have both gone crazy by this point. But definitely very rich, full of life position. Sarah playing well here, accumulating the pieces on the king side. She's playing well overall. I think the score doesn't tell the whole story. It's just, as I mentioned several times now, the critical tactical moments not going her way. But let's not put things out of perspective. She's definitely finding some very enterprising ideas.
Oh, yeah. And she's only 23 years old and certainly going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think.
Absolutely.
In the future.
Going to become a grandmaster. I have no doubt about that. So, this is something that she will analyze and use to improve. And that's the beauty of chess. Even when matches are disastrous from a sporting perspective, you can always analyze the losses, figure out what went wrong, and come back stronger.
And with all these tournaments being canceled, Danya, there's plenty of time to get back into the lab, as we like to say in poker.
Right, exactly. And no doubt that Sarah will approach these games from sort of an improvement point of view. But now this is looking good for her because knight d3 and f4 is possible. There's knight takes f5 check, though. Look at Katarina maneuvering her pieces. Knight takes h3. What a move. f4 incoming. This might go Sarah's way.
Ooh, I would love to see that. And with a little bit of a sweet taste in your mouth. E takes F. Look at
Okay.
and a nice advertisement for the King's Indian yet again.
Yep. She takes F5. Ooh, look at that. I mean, what's fascinating about this position is the fact that she's not afraid of the discovered check. The rook, but queen coming to H6. This is anybody's game. Don't play queen H6. There's knight F5.
Oh yeah, yeah. You had to warn yourself not to do that, but no, she's going the slow route. Queen G6, Queen H5. What happened
Whoa,
here?
that was terrible. That was not good. But Katerina miscalculated something there, and
Yeah, yeah.
this is going to be
She looks like she's gonna lose this one.
even rook, queen B1 is mate immediately, but this is also possible. Queen C2
Come on,
mate.
Sarah. And with
Queen
a nice
C2
note,
mate.
King E2. There's Queen
Nicely
C2.
done.
And there it is.
Nicely done.
We like to see that. Make that
do.
score look a little bit more in keeping with how the match went. Guys,
Right.
in the chat, respect, please. These players are putting on a marvelous show, and it's great that Chess.com and FIDE are supporting it. I think the debate about women's events and whatnot, enjoy the chess. That's what I'm saying.
We can all, we have, especially in these times, everybody has radically different viewpoints on so many issues. But the beauty of chess is the rules. Nobody disputes the rules of chess. Nobody disputes the fact that these are amazing chess players. Nobody disputes the fact that chess is undergoing a boom right now. So let's at least try to come together over that and respect the effort that's being put in by so many different parties to bring this to the table and make it possible.
And especially like just the players, it takes so much playing a blitz match against such a strong player. You're really putting yourself on the line. Is Sarah Kadim? You can get embarrassed, but that's why I have such tremendous respect for them out here playing these events. And I am very impressed. What's Bishop H3, Pawn H3, Queen G3 check?
Whoa, that is a beautiful idea. Sorry to interrupt you, Jen. I was just marveling at that idea. This is a draw after GH, but what a move.
Yeah, it's a cool draw. But what if we had played Queen G3 right away? Then you would have had like a bishop move, probably.
Maybe, but also maybe not. Bishop H6, E5. Wow, something tells me this is. Katerina's playing these amazing Queen G3.
Queen G3.
Oh, what a move! Incredible display here of tactics. And Queen
G4, Queen G2. Wait,
Queen G2 is
Queen G2 mate?
Okay, but this also wins because it wins the queen. Yes, Queen takes G2 as mate.
Queen G2 was mate. Wow, what a lovely match.
What a match.
Katerina Lano, but we were treated to such fantastic chess. GG to Sarah Kadim.
Congratulations.
Been an absolute pleasure having her in the event. Now, Absolutely. With Katerina's play today, though, you can't help but wish that somehow it was a triangular final.
Right. And incredible display of opening acumen and just tactical sharpness by Katerina. Congratulations to her and Sarah holding her head up high, winning that penultimate bullet game. So she definitely has a couple of games to be proud of, and she will come back stronger and better for sure.
And we've got our final coming up in just a few minutes. I'm so excited. This one is going to be so tight.
Let's go.
Valentina Gunina. You know what I liked about Valentina yesterday in the post-game interviews, Nanya? She said something that actually people don't say a lot. She said, I am very happy because I played great. I loved the confidence. Usually chess players, even the best players in the world, how often do they actually say that?
Not very often. No, it's great.
They don't admit it. They don't admit it because it's so hard to really play perfectly when you're playing blitz and bullet because obviously you got to make a lot of mistakes. Mm-hmm. But you got to calibrate that and give yourself credit for.
You do.
When accounting for the inevitable blunders in blitz and bullet, you still, played incredible. And, seeing that she beat this Katerina Lano, who we saw how good she is, she made an accurate assessment, Danya.
She did. And you're absolutely right, Jen. Sometimes you just gotta give yourself a little bit of credit. Chess players are known to be very hard on themselves, but gotta give credit where credit is due, and sometimes that belongs in your very own wheelhouse. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's also the type of confidence that you don't always see from women. Culturally, maybe not as normal for women to be like, yeah, I'm the best, I play great, but it's also important for confidence in this format, Blitz and Bullet. And by the way, we're underway. Valentina Gunina starting
Yes,
the
we
match
are.
with knight f3, a little ready opening.
Yep. And Anna choosing not to cling to that pawn, instead prioritizing development of her pieces. And
well, not exactly the swashbuckling opening that we saw as a thematic in the last one, but I do always find if I'm playing black in these situations, I struggle with this more quiet treatment, which can be particularly effective in blitz because white's moves are more mapped
mhm.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. Very sort of systemic, natural play. But Valentina has a couple decisions. Does she play d4? Does she play d3? Does she delay the movement of her d pawn? So sort of very undefined center here. I think she's going to put a rook on d1 and try to slam d4 down as quickly as possible, while black's queen is still in the crosshairs on d8. This is equal though. Ushenina definitely solving her opening problems.
Yeah. All right, so knight c6, and you're just gonna play. Are you gonna try to play a6 and b5 or bishop d7?
Yeah, I mean, a6 b5 definitely is standard in these positions. She could also go queen c7 first, sort of removing the queen from the line of fire. So I really think anything is bishop d7. I like a little bit less. It just seems a little bit on the passive side. I think after d4, white might have a slight pull.
Yeah, these types of games, we're going to see that, it's pretty close to the vest in the first 15 moves, but then at some point, a time scramble will erupt and it will get crazy. So don't despair. There's still going to be plenty of wild finishes here. Rook c1 now, b5 potentially, bishop d3 would be forced then. And the question was b5 a positive or a negative for our position?
Both, I think, because it weakens the c5 pawn. And that knight on c6 that's behind the pawn could also lose the support. But Ushenina banking on sort of the immediate activity of her pieces. Now, bishop b1, I love that maneuver preparing d4 by white. But
d4, d4, and then you're liking white just because of the lovely position of the two bishops. Like I if I like white, it's because of that bishop on b1 and bishop on b2. It's kind of ironic because they're on the side, but they're actually way better bishops than the bishops on e7 and d7.
Yeah, and I think there's a name for. I've learned that these bishops are called the Horowitz bishops. I think named after a chess player from the early 20th centuries. That those bishops on b1 and b2 kind of like teeth, staring down black's king, and knight g5 coming in, the knight working in concert with the bishops, rerouting itself to e4 and hitting that vulnerable pawn on c5. So I think practically speaking, Gunina definitely putting significant pressure on black's position.
I just find it kind of funny. I mean, it makes sense because the longest diagonals on the board are on the side, but I do find it funny that the bishops on e7 and d7 are just so inept compared to the ones on those long diagonals.
They're placed similarly, but they're similar in their placement, but very different in their capabilities. And
look at this
look
now.
at that king.
This bishop on b2 now particularly strong, as queen g4 is a strong threat. I mean, how bad is this? Like, I'm starting to get concerned for black, like seriously concerned. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I would go e5 or f5. I don't think objectively it's that bad. I just think practically it's very hard to make decisions in a position like this. Also because let's not forget the c5 pawn is weak as well. So definitely Valentina in the driver's seat, but this is a critical moment. So I like that Anna is spending time here. I think that's very important to find an accurate move here. Otherwise, things could get very much out of control if you allow a move like queen h5 or queen g4. So I think f5 here should be played by black,
f5,
but I'm not sure.
Right. Okay, it's a weakening move, but you got to do what you got to do. And
right, exactly.
And also the knight on e4 is incredibly strong piece. So you're kind of trying to bottle up two pieces with one move, the bishop on b1 and the knight on e4. So
right,
suppose
exactly.
after f5, I just play knight g3, and I'm also angling potentially to play knight h5.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think white's better, but you got to kind of prioritize not getting sort of crushed here on the king side first. But I agree, knight g3, knight h5 is a good idea. That pawn on g7. So black doesn't solve her problems permanently. But f5 chosen by Anna. But she
As
is
after a
getting low on
long
time.
think, after a long think, she comes to the same conclusion that you did, Danya. And by the way, I noticed that our Twitch chat is now emote only. But how do you say, why are there women's tournaments in emotes?
Yeah. So
you know what you have to do? You have to use the Google emote. I'm not sure if we have that, but
yeah, gotta get on that if we don't. And d4 striking on the other side here is Valentina. Valentina is incredibly tactical, aggressive player. I've known her since I think the under 12 World Youth. I was playing the under 12 section in 2007, and her coach was actually my coach as well, Russian Grandmaster Alexander Kalinin. So quite familiar with her style of play, and she's a swashbuckling attacking player. Here we see it on full display.
Oh yeah, she's a legendary. People like when you ask them about Valentina Gunina, they just start to smile. Mm-hmm. They don't even before they start talking. If you ask them about their style, they just start giggling.
Very gracious, but letting her moves do the talking. I like how Anna is handling this though. c4, trying to close in White's dark squared bishop, but knight c5 here could be something to consider. Trying to rip that bishop's diagonal back open again. So we'll see. Yep. Wow. Played by Gunina. And now c4 is saying this is looking very concerning for black.
Yeah, c4 hanging, e6. It's kind of shifted from us trying to checkmate black to now us capitalizing on all their weaknesses. And this is the issue. When you suggested the move f5, it makes me cringe, but she had to do it.
She had to do it, but you're absolutely right. It weakened d6.
Yeah, and the light squares, ultimately, because there's still some potential tactics. I don't think anything works right away, but you got to keep your eye on the queen e4 ideas, the h7 square.
Yeah, now knight f4, though. That is a very unpleasant move for white, because look at that bishop on b2. It's hanging. Knight f4, queen c2. There's bishop g6. And Anna remaining very much in the game here. It's just that she's very low on time. It's so hard to handle the complications here. What to do now? Queen takes h7, a threat. Should she take on b2? I have no clue. Maybe she should take on b2.
Or do we have bishop g6, queen f4, then takes on b2?
Maybe. Yeah, then maybe bishop g6 and white stable. I don't know about knight g6. I think that gives white a bit of a stay of execution here. Now Valentina could move her bishop away from b2. As she does. e5, though, by Anna. Look at this counterplay.
Yeah, e5.
What is going
nice
on
find. Here? Attacking the rook on c4.
And ed, maybe knight d7. Crazy complications on the board right now. Absolute wildness.
I told you, just because it's a little drier coming into it, that makes it wilder later on.
Indeed, you're
funny
absolutely
how that
right.
happens.
And I think rook takes d4 is possible.
So your move knight takes d7 just like is confounding me, because it looks like almost every piece is on the take after that move, knight d7. So you don't have time for bishop a3 because of the queen and b6 being in take, and rook d7 allows rook c8. Right,
it sets the board on fire. But knight d7, I'm worried about rook takes c1. So I'm thinking rook takes d4 is possible here, because if you take on c5, I take on d8 first, and then I recapture the bishop. So I do think that Valentina could get away with rook takes d4. The time situation also very central. Anna playing very fast, but she's still very low on time. So Valentina could use this extra minute very much to her advantage here, trying to figure out the complications.
Right. This is why you keep that extra minute, isn't it? Just for positions like this.
Exactly.
Queen to f5, okay. What's the idea there?
c6 by Anna.
Play a move, rook c6, okay.
Rook c6, yeah, she's trying to double on the c file. It makes, wow, I mean, given the time pressure, I think Anna is playing incredibly well. So.
And we need to keep our eye on things. Can we play rook d7? I'd love to play rook d7 if I can, or am I hanging something?
No, I think that was possible, but now Anna doubles on the c file, and oof.
Yeah, that's what
This is one of the most complicated middle games I've seen in a while.
Oh, okay. Similar to your idea earlier, knight takes b6, rook takes d1 check, and you get the 2 rooks for the queen.
Oh, queen takes c8 is possible here. Queen takes c8 was possible there.
Oh, You're
And
right.
then knight takes b6. That might have been a crusher. Now the a4 knight is not hanging. Bishop e4. What a move by Valentina. Bishop e6. Holy smokes. What is going on here? It just keeps going and going.
Bishop c6, bishop f5. Oh, she's just gonna play bishop d7 or something. No,
Yeah.
she checks.
This is not looking good though. Knight bishop c2, by the way, big threat, but Valentina sees it.
Yeah, she
So
fortifies her bishop on d5, plays bishop e3.
rook c1, rerouting the rook to an open file. This is definitely good for white. Up a pawn with the initiative and with the time advantage remaining, this is going to be very hard to defend in the long term for Anna.
I like knight c8 here.
I like to too. Yeah, that was a cool. That, similar to that move you suggested, Jen. Bishop f1.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get all my pieces to the most comical squares.
Exactly, but it had an intention too. And now a4, cementing the bishop, fixing the weakness on a5, which Anna does try to defend. Bishop c5 check possible. Yep. She's got to move the king. This is nasty now.
Yeah, just very difficult because the bishop on b5 is really beastly and blocking a lot of the defensive ideas that you'd have if it was just rook versus rook.
Yep, and now rook a7 collects a second extra pawn. This is unfortunately not looking good. Yeah, two extra pawns, 2 seconds. I feel like Valentina is going to grind Anna down here, unfortunately, for Anna. Very valiant effort in time pressure. Very few could have retained such accuracy over the course of so many moves, but just not quite enough, unfortunately. But anything can happen. 11 seconds for Valentina. These positions, miracles do happen.
Oh yeah, we've seen it before. Unfortunately for
Bishop e4
okay,
wins.
bishop e4. Or now it's gonna be resigns. Now it's resigns, and we're off to another game. This time Anna getting a crack with white. Actually, though, in the previous matches, I felt like Anna was actually the one, even though she got to the final, she had a lot of unfortunate incidents where she was like about to win and got mated at the last minute or some pre-move trick. So it's interesting. She sometimes gets tricked at the very end, but she plays great and she gets lots of formidable positions.
Yeah, very enterprising style of play. But here, Valentina trotting out a very interesting opening, sort of going for the immediate bishop b4 check. Jen, is a very unpleasant idea because c3 notice cannot be played. Oh, this is looking very bad. Knight d2, knight c3. No. Oh my goodness, this could be an opening disaster. Although knight c3, there's queen c1, and knight e4 could be met with knight f3. Worse for white, but defensible, I think.
We're hanging on by a thread, but boy.
With white and eight moves, man. Valentina full of these very interesting systems. Knight c3 could also be met with queen g4. Now that I look at it, I actually think Anna's doing fine here. But, scary stuff for sure.
Yeah, visually it's not appealing to see your opponent stick a knight on c3 so early in the game, but it didn't look like it led to any concrete advantage. So instead, keeping the bishop as the star of that pin and the knight on d2. And look at this. Anna just played knight b5, sacrificing the rook on a1.
These games are amazing. I mean, so much stuff going on. I would just take on c3 here. That's a huge bishop. Anna has eliminated queen g4, queen h5. I love the way Anna is playing. You're very inspired. First game didn't go her way, but fortunes have definitely changed in the opening. Now she's got the 2 bishops. She's got the initiative. And she's got the attack on black's exposed king with bishop d3 threatening checkmate. The follow-up and bishop e5 also possible.
And, the thing here is I would actually be shocked if this match isn't close. That's what I meant to say in my prediction. So
no, you're absolutely right, I think. I mean, both of these players are fighters, and they're playing well. They're clearly in very good form.
But you never know. I mean, sometimes somebody just gets in a roll, and, especially Valentina. But here it looks like it's not Valentina's cup of tea. She's actually going to be the one defending here.
Right. I mean, the one thing she can try is knight b4, trying to eliminate one of the bishops. Anna's got to put things in perspective here. Sometimes in these positions, you get too caught up in trying to find sort of an immediate win. But the reality is you have to nurture and sort of accumulate your small advantages. Your knight f3 is possible, but on a very mature player. So I think she understands that. She's not going to do anything crazy. Yep. Knight f3 scene.
So knight f3, looking at the play knight g5, but you are defending at the moment with h6. All right.
Yep.
Just no immediate. It's more about like can white find some kind of positional grind to get on. Like if I could stick my bishop on e5 and just play that position, maybe put a pawn on h6 one day. I feel very optimistic about this position for white.
Very slowly, accumulate pressure. Vladimir Kramnik style. Okay, but
I love
okay.
it.
Queen g5. I mean, g4. Very sharp play by white. Not Russian school of chess at all.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
G4.
I love it, Ganya.
Me too. I love these moves.
I sent Yasser your impressions video, by the way.
Oh, exactly, Jen. Precisely. Well, this move g4 reminds me of a tournament in Tilburg that I played in 1964. But I do hope that Yasser enjoyed my impressions exactly.
I think he did. You're spot on. I think my favorite is Kramnik's was really good, but there was one that I liked even more. I have to read
Kasparov, maybe.
Yes, Gary. Yeah. Gary.
But it was okay. I mean, it was decent, but I have some improvement to be made for sure. But it's not funny. I love Yasser, of course. He's one of my favorite people in the chess world. I've had the pleasure of training with him. So he's awesome. I always preface these impressions by saying I never mean any disrespect. To the contrary, I love these players and these people. So, I'm so happy that they're very gracious in complimenting me on impressions.
Yes, the chat is loving it, no doubt. As we have removed the emote only. So breaking news, we removed the emote only because actually via the emote conversation, they solved all the issues of, gender and differences and, understanding the need for women's only tournaments.
Exactly.
Encourage girls. They solved it in 5 minutes. So shout out to chat. We never have to talk about it again. And here we've got the two bishops.
Yeah, and Anna continuing to put the pressure. She's up a pawn now. The only problem is her king is a little bit exposed. That pawn on h5 also a little bit weak. So she's got some problems to solve here, but definitely that h6, what a move. Okay, but that knight's going to get trapped. Or am I missing something? Rook e1? Rook h5, though. So tricky is Valentina. Maybe rook h1 should be inserted here. Yep.
Yeah, nice move.
Rook c. Okay, rook c not possible. That square's covered. Yeah, this is losing for black. Completely losing. That knight on e2 is not getting out. Oh, but...
Bishop f4 now? No, there's knight f4. I mean, I need to move the knight away first.
Maybe rook h3 and double on the h file. Also, rook e1 is possible. But then there's rook f8. This isn't over because rook f8, if bishop moves away from f5, then there's bishop f3 with mate, actually. So rook f8 here is little f4. Maybe f4. Yeah. Just crushing. King f2 coming in. Knight is going to be lost.
And we're trying to just rook h5 and bishop takes e2 if we want, right?
Yeah, I think black's only chance here is rook c8 followed by knight c3. She's got to try to evacuate the knight, but then white can switch her attention to the king side with something like king f2 and rook ag1.
Rook c8 being the only chance, because you think that black will have a little bit of counterplay after rook h5, bishop e2. Rook c2.
Yeah, and then rook c2, right? Exactly. That also is, I'm sure, winning for white, but sometimes you want to be careful about these transformations. You want to sort of be as precise as possible. But yeah, rook h5 should be kept in mind. I'm not sure what the best, maybe c4 here, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, c4 looks, okay, so she does go for it, but I'm not sure about it. Maybe rook e1 after rook takes c2 is winning, of course.
Wait, she's thinking here.
Yeah, I don't like what is exactly. I think maybe on a miss, rook takes c2, but it's not a big deal. You could go rook e1.
I don't think she missed it. She thought before that. Maybe she just was.
Yeah, no, maybe she was checking something. Yeah, some more precise ways. But no, she's playing super. And notice what I love about this move. She gives up a2, but Anna realizing that the d5 pawn is what she's going to go after here. So very, very crafty, precise play here by Ushenina. She's got to drive it home, though.
And don't forget the king also. I mean, those two bishops are going to be vicious and threatening the king as we advance our pawns.
Amazing move f5, stopping rook g6, preparing bishop f3. So fantastic technique so far. But of course, I'm going to jinx her, so I'm going to stop talking for a second and let Anna's moves do the talking.
Yeah. The problem is if black goes really passive and just tries to defend the d pawn, then the rook will come in through the c file, and just the threats against the king combined with the threats against that d pawn are going to be hard to meet. Rook b6 play, though, trying to get counterplay by any means necessary. Bishop f3 now. I mean, what about bishop f3? I guess you'd have to. What do you do after bishop f3? Rook d2?
Yeah, you got to play rook d2, but then bishop d4 intercepts the rook's defensive pawn. And what White can also do is in a timely manner, she can go rook g1 and king f4 and switch her attention to the g7 pawn. Again, as you mentioned, Jen, those bishops able to multitask, do so many things at once, and the rooks are just absolutely helpless in their face.
It's true. I mean, they're called the two bishops for a reason.
Yep, exactly.
Because there are two of them. No, but seriously, rook c1. Now, we're just going after rook c5, for instance. Just a very simple frontal move. But king f4, I like this even more.
King e5, just saying, you know what? I'm going to take that pawn with my bare hands. Bishop takes d5 coming in, and this is over, Red Rover, as one Danny Wrench would say.
You can tell he has a lot of young children.
You're right, exactly. Bishop takes d5 and rook g1, bishop e6. Really anything is good here. Those bishops also really good at intercepting checks, like rook e7, bishop e6. So bishop... Oh, I almost suggested bishop takes a7. That would not be good.
Right, allowing rook takes d5.
Yep. But bishop e6 is good.
So bishop e6, and then you have to play rook c7, right? So she just played e4 instead.
Also perfectly reasonable, defending the d5 bishop.
Gosh, what a great game by Anna Ushenina.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at this. She's so precise in the technique and climbing out of that dubious situation in the opening, transforming her advantage multiple times. So well done so far by Anna. And she just has a couple more precise moves before she can put this to bed.
Rook h1, okay, provoking h6.
Now bishop takes a7, I think, is perhaps the most prudent.
Love it, because we're also threatening bishop b6 now, pinning the rook on c7.
Look at the bishop b6, just harmonious, just a symphony being put on here by the bishops.
I know, it's almost like the two bishops are better than the rooks, even without the extra rook that we have as well. It feels that way.
Look at those bishops, e6, b6, rook c1. They're in concert, like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, One piece after it follows another, and now her piece is ideally placed, and pawn comes to the rescue. Beautiful here, rook h1 winning the game on the spot here.
Love it, and he finds it instantly. Rook a6, bishop c5, and then h5 goes. Okay, That's a good move, though. g6, nice little trick there. But then we just take on e7, and,
Goodbye.
Just over. What a tremendous game by Anna.
The hills are alive for the sound of Ushenina. Yes, go ahead.
I mean, I know you picked Valentina, but after seeing those two games, are you going to stick with that pick, or would you switch if you had to?
I'm sticking with it. I think the lower time controls are what's going to get to Anna potentially, because from what I know about Valentina, she is a very sort of good blitz and bullet player, but Anna's in excellent form. That game is very revealing of Anna's form, and I think it's going to be a very close match as well. I just don't see this being a runaway at this moment.
Me neither. Chat, who do you think is going to win? Danya and I both think it's going to be extremely close. As we've got a different opening in this game, which is nice. It seems like we're going to be seeing more switch ups, I think, in this match, because we saw a b3, bishop b2 line, and now we've got something a little bit more traditional.
Indeed.
I think, actually, I don't know. Is this theory?
This is theory, yeah. Now
Okay.
bishop d7, queen c4. Essentially, white's given up 2 pawns, but she's going to pick them off because due to the threats of knight takes d. Yeah, but now knight takes d4. This is there is this line. Knight takes d4. There was the theoretical move. There was a fascinating line there, but Gunina opting for queen takes c4. She's going to take her time picking off the d4 pawn. And Gunina here gunning for the d4 pawn.
I
That's
see what
terrible.
you did there.
I'm sorry.
By the way,
It's 10:36. It's too early for puns, so forgive
who's
me.
the best non-Russian, like non-native Russian speaking impressions of Russians?
That's a great question, actually. Yeah, who does the best impressions of Russians? I have to think about that, but there's a couple of people I know who are not necessarily famous who have a great Russian accent. I had a couple of classmates. I had a high school classmate. His name was Hugo. He was, as American as it gets, but he had a mean Russian accent, and I mean not like a stereotypical like Russian bad guy in a movie. That's what they think Russians sound like, but in reality, Russians don't sound like that at all. It's much more smooth than that. It's like Vladimir Kramnik.
We've got a lot of love for Levy in the chat and his impressions as well. So
Yep, he's very famous for his impressions. But yeah, I'm always annoyed at movies when they hire a non-Russian speaker to do like the Russian bad guy role, like talk like this, like very very evil Russian. But I don't think Russians actually sound like that when they speak English. And Uncle Sasha, Danny Wrench, of course. Let's not forget about his Russian accents. His incredible, legendary Uncle Sasha. So much love to Danny.
all right, so knight to d5 now. Bishop e5 played, allowing knight takes e5.
Interesting little move there. So giving up the bishop, but the bishop, maybe knight takes c5 and bishop f6. I think Anna has solved her opening problems here.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way to me. I always struggle playing against these Catalan type structures because they get kind of confusing and wrinkly with the different possible move orders. But yeah, it doesn't seem great to me that you're now offering up this bishop.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Maybe even takes in queen b6. I think Anna's just trying to figure out what it is that Valentina has up her sleeve. But okay, bishop d7. I guess that's also possible. But now I think Valentina can capture on d4 with a bishop, so it's a little bit more favorable. Still a good position for Anna if she takes on d4, but I'm not sure I saw anything wrong with taking on e5.
But taking on d4, we're going to get the bishop anyway. So knight takes d4 here, right? Like we don't want to continue to let that bishop live, do we?
Absolutely not. The only thing I'd point out is if she plays rook c8, that bishop doesn't really have any good squares.
Yeah, so we could start with rook c8 and just see where you want to move your queen.
Queen b3, this is about equal, I think. So it's not like Valentina is really messed up or anything, but rook c8 looks. I like Black's position there, actually. I do like Black's position.
Rook c8 was played, and then a quick queen b3, and now still there's not really a good place for the bishop to move, so it's not even required for you to take it here, but I think you probably will.
Yeah, I mean, knight c3 could be an annoying little move if you delay too long, procrastinate. But knight a5, so Anna going fundamentally for a different approach. Queen d3, her idea is knight b4, very interesting. She wants to win the rook with knight c2. What tactical awareness there? And can Valentina save her knight b4?
You're right. Wow. Knight b4. Can we play some kind of desperado here?
Queen d2.
Like, no, because if we tried something like bishop b6, I'm just trying to use my queen to take on d7, but it's not going to work because you're still going to have knight c2 at the end of the day.
But knight c2, bishop c3. And if knight takes a1, there's bishop takes a5, then the bishop returns to c3. d7 is hanging, and that knight on a1 could get trapped. So I actually don't think this quite works. Maybe knight c4.
But maybe rook c2 instead here, or knight c4.
Luke McShane here with the impression it's going to be unclear. As Danny King would say, yeah, knight c4, queen c1. Oh, this is going to be very close.
Queen c1, okay.
Sorry,
So what
knight
do you...
a3 is just a funny move.
Oh, knight a3. Yes, that is a fun move. Okay, so what do we do there?
In your style, Jen, knight a3, then knight c2. But I'm not sure if I'm playing that because it's good or I'm trying to look cool or both. Maybe a
Hey,
little bit of both.
whatever works.
Knight a3, there's knight c3. That's the problem. Vacating the b1 square for the rook.
Yeah, and then knight c2, rook b1, and you're just saying nothing special.
Right, exactly. Although a2 hangs there.
Yeah, that's the thing. A2 hanging. So maybe knight a3 is a move to be reckoned with.
Maybe, but the problem for black is if Valentina beats back the first way of the initiative, notice her rook on d1 pinning the bishop on d7, nor is black's king entirely safe. So positionally speaking, under the surface, white is better. And Anna is also burning a lot of time here trying to find the most accurate execution. So I actually think the momentum, believe it or not, has shifted in Valentina's favor.
And by the way, we also have this as our last game of 5 minutes. That was probably clear like some time ago. I've been so engrossed, but that's typical. Usually there are 3 games of 5-1.
Yep. And very high level games too. Back and forth they go. So we'll see how this pans out. Knight takes a2. Yeah. So
Knight a2. Now, do we have a useful waiting move here for white? Because there are some pins and issues in your position with the b7 pawn being hanging and the bishop on d7 being pinned.
Right.
What's a useful move here for white? Maybe just...
She's got to move the queen e3, I guess. But no, then Anna takes on c3, goes b6. That move, knight takes d4. Yeah, but knight takes d4 was a mistake. I think Valentina should have taken with a rook on d4, at least keeping the more immediate pin.
But don't we have knight c6 there?
We do. Good point. Absolutely. And knight takes a7. Aha. Very devious. So now Anna has to decide. And again, look at the time difference. That hurt Anna in the first game. And once again here in this game, less than 30 seconds now on the clock for Anna. So e5. Oh my God, e5. Oh, yeah, she had e5 on the piece. Oh, man. Counting her lucky stars, but still e5 is a big threat, but I don't think it comes with the same effect.
Yeah, bishop a4. Do you have to give up the exchange to stop that?
Maybe. So rook d2 e5. Is there some sort of desperado knight move is what I'm looking for? Can't seem to find one, and neither does Valentina, it seems.
But if we start with, let's see, if we play queen f4 here, no, bishop d1, no, it doesn't seem like anything works there. So now we're expecting e5.
Is this a bluff? I have a feeling that white has something there, but I cannot put my finger on it. Because black has a lot of hanging pieces, undefended pieces. And normally in those situations, queen f6. So something Anna didn't like about it. I would be curious what it is. But I have a feeling white had something.
But she played queen d3 now. There's just a g6 move, queen a6, hitting that bishop on a4.
As FM Peter Giannatis in the chat, knight b5 maybe against d5. Yeah, certainly there seemed to be something there.
All right, guys. So just to keep in mind, 12 seconds left for Anna. And you're right. It does seem like Valentina is the faster player. Anna will have to pick it up as the time controls get faster after this game.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I thought about earlier, Jen. I just have a feeling that Valentina is a little bit more comfortable. We see with respect to Anna, she's playing fast and she's playing accurately. She's not incapable of doing that. But overall, I feel like Valentina is more comfortable playing faster.
Okay, c4, rook c8 now. Lots of pressure on that c pawn.
Indeed. Black is better here, but 9 seconds.
You also have to worry about the 2 bishops, as f2 is a weak point. But now bishop f2 check, an immediate threat. So the queen on a6 needs to go somewhere.
Yep. And c4 is going to hang. So Anna on top at 9 seconds here. Valentina's got to move her queen. She's now herself below 30 seconds.
That's right. Anna's been playing pretty quickly, and the time differential is not as big as it used to be.
Ooh, g5. But I'm not sure why she didn't just take on c4. But she does want to play g4 and pick off f2. Very ambitious. I like it. h5. Okay, rook c7.
All right, now she took it.
Oh, the pre-move. Back to c7.
Oh boy, rook takes c7, rook takes c7, queen b5. Anything could happen in this game.
Hitting g5, this is tense. Ooh, queen takes g5, but I wouldn't do that if I were white. I would keep the queens
H6.
on the board. Queen e8.
Right.
Okay, rook d3.
Where is she going with that bishop? Just trying to gain
probing,
some time.
probing. Okay, queen e7, very solid. I like it. And now the time situation beginning to equalize. Valentina herself with 12 seconds. Check, back to b5, knight e5. Rook c5 is possible here. f4. Okay, cementing the knight. Oh, look at bishop c. That's a great move.
Love it. With so little time in the clock. Knight d7 doesn't work.
Oh, rook d5 trapped the knight. But okay.
Oh, you're right. Dominated knight. We've had that as a theme, but still the knight is bereft of squares. How do you get it out?
And that king, look at Black's bloodthirsty king. Knight c5, there's bishop b6. Valentina herself with 2 seconds. Trying to get her knight out. Takes. I don't like that move. I don't like taking, though.
No, me neither. She got her knight out.
And now this is very much drawable, but anything can happen.
2 seconds left for Valentina.
She's got to make a move. King f7. 1-0. Oh, I always get stressed out in these situations.
Oh. Well, they're going to keep happening.
Oh, and Anna wins the second pawn. This is winning now for Black.
Oh, she's winning now. She's winning now.
Yep,
nice.
Yes, she is. Very well done. And this is relatively straightforward. Just push your pawns, create a second passer. Boom, boom, boom. G3. Careful, though. I would play king f3 there, but...
Why? Because you want all 3 pawns.
But look at the speed. I mean, just free moves. Excellent time management for Anna. And this
after really, really bad time management in the beginning of the game, but maybe she needed to kind of figure the right moves.
Right.
But now she's just out blitzing.
Yeah, just pure speed. King comes to f4. Very good technique. I mean, Russian school of chess technique, if I ever saw it. Yeah, this is over. King e3, king f3. And expecting resignation here. 17 seconds already for that. Anna has built up. And rook d2, goodbye.
Apparently she can build up time in this time control. Not everybody can. But
Indeed.
There it is.
And a big win, bringing us to the end of the 5-minute portion. So Anna losing the first game, but jumping out to a lead.
Yes, really well done. And I'm actually kind of happy with this victory, not because I have a favored player, but more because I kind of agree with you that Valentina might have an edge in the faster time control.
Right,
so
exactly.
I think this victory gives us an even better chance at a close match.
Indeed it does. And we'll let the players refill their coffee.
All right, sounds like a plan. We'll be back in just a couple minutes for
Indeed.
the 3-minute portion of this exciting final at the Women's Speed Chess Champs. And we are back. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning. I'm Jennifer Shahadi. I'm here with Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky for the exciting leg two final of the Women's Speed Chess Championships. And we've got a formidable match on our hands.
Indeed, we do. And we see that both of these players in excellent form. Valentina Gunina against Anna Ushenina. Anna, despite a lot of time management problems, showing her strength and time pressure and jumping out to a 1-point lead. But we have 30 minutes of 3+1 left, followed by the bullet section. So we anticipated a close match, and we seem to have it.
Yep. We were right about something, Danya. Come on.
What? Well, yeah, rare occasion.
We can't call it too soon because I feel like, somebody could still go on a streak in this minute.
Absolutely. Definitely. Absolutely. Especially with this faster pace, faster time control, it's really all about momentum. I think whoever wins the first game will have a lot of the momentum. And
the practical blitz skills, I think, go to Valentina. In that she tends to manage her time well in the beginning of the game. But then I think what we noticed last game is that if Anna does get down to the increment, she can play.
She can blitz. She and pre-moves. I mean, she seems to have that down as well. We have another London system here.
So what's more important, the mechanical blitz skills, meaning that you got the pre-moves and the fast moves, or the more practical blitz skills?
I would prioritize the more practical blitz skills. In bullet, though, I would say it's about 50-50. But here in 3+1 is not that frenetic. I mean, there's still a lot of time to think and sort of sink into the position. But when it comes down to it, you just, your hands are literally shaking sometimes, and you can't execute the move. So it's all about the nerves too.
That's right. It's true. And Bishop G3 now. Who do you like in these types of positions where we've given up this bishop, but we've gotten the H file?
Yeah, I generally like black here because I somehow like the two bishops and D5 here as possible. That H file is a potential cause for concern if black castles, but black also has the option of delaying castling, basically keeping the king on E8 for the time being until white decides on her system of development. So queen takes B3, Valentina deciding to go into an endgame, which is very sensible, of course. And CD now, so just trading everything off.
CD, of course. Oh, I thought you said CD for white. I was like, that's not a move I expect.
Exactly, yeah, definitely ED. I don't expect CD either, but she's thinking, okay, ED. Yeah, good. It's like, okay.
I think I'd rather play knight takes D4 than CD if I had to, if I wasn't allowed to play ED. But of course, they're forced to do nothing, just the best moves. B4 played. I can see a knight coming to C4, looking to try to capture that D6 square. So maybe the king just belongs on E7.
Yeah, I mean, normally castling here can be counterproductive because you want to keep the king close. Well, she castles long, which is interesting, keeping the bishop protected on B7. So I like that move. I think Anna has actually jumped out to a small advantage here. She's got that little pressure going on the queen side with B4, B5 ideas. So we'll see how Valentina tries to solve her opening problems, but there is still some initiative going on here.
And don't forget that the two bishops are considered better when it's the two bishops. That's why they're called the two bishops. One bishop versus a bishop and a knight versus two knights aren't considered to have the same advantage.
Right, exactly.
So that's why that bishop A6 move is really clutch for Anna, because it's unlikely black's going to have some kind of dominant position.
Right, and this knight can reroute it from E1 to D, which is exactly what Anna's doing, knight E1 to D3. If I were Valentina, yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I would try to open up that H file, at least for some counterplay. It's not going to be anything too significant, but you have to try to somehow mix things up a little bit. And that's what she's trying to do. Rook H4, though, Anna could play G3, King G2 there. So it's not what she does. It's not a big issue, but the trade of rooks there might lead to a pretty drawish position. I'm not sure. Rook H8, Rook H1, and then you can trade both rooks down the H file. Black will have some pawn weaknesses there, but white's pawn structure is not ideal either.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, though, as the potential for an avenue of all major pieces being traded come out. It's looking like more drawish chances. We haven't had a draw in this match so far.
Yep,
In fact, I think we've only
exactly.
had like one draw today. So it doesn't happen that often in these speed chess champs.
Right, which I love. I don't love bishop h6. I'm not sure I see the point of that move because Anna wanted to go knight c4 anyway. And already knight d6 check is a huge threat. Now Valentina the one going low on time.
All right, d5 to stop knight d6 check. And now knight e5.
Planting that knight, g4 is saying, oh, this is, and b5, knight c6, another idea. So,
yep, true. Yeah, b5 and knight c6 is a really nice idea. So maybe they need to play like a6 here.
Another thing to consider.
Or f7 pawn is in take for the moment.
Yeah, so I guess Valentina doing the right thing to sacrifice, but knight takes g4, rook takes a7 also possible. Anna has a choice of actually 3 pawns to take. I like taking on g4 though, to make sure that that king has a square on f3.
Yeah, knight takes g4 looks like a great move to me.
Right.
I mean, taking a pawn and protecting the h2 square, you know, why not? Why not? Let's go for it.
Right, and I would play a little bit faster if I were Anna. I mean, just make an intuitive decision because knight f7, there's rook d7. I'm not exactly sure. There we go.
And she's done it. She's done
it. She's done it. Knight e3, and she's still up on time here. So knight h2, I like that move. Knight comes out to f3, and from there it can access either e5, or it can just protect the h2 square. So very Ooh, now Valentina's got to watch that rook. It might get a little bit entangled there to add insult to injury.
Indeed.
Knight f3, rook h1, b5, very good positional move, cementing weaknesses. And that's just not good enough, e5, because now de, and this might have done more harm than good for Valentina, but she's definitely using her chances here. d4 maybe at some point. Rook a4, excellent move.
Yeah, nice little rook lift in the endgame. Rook a1 is on tap, but we're also guarding that d4 square, kind of locking it down.
Yep, doubling. If d4 rook fa1, distracting the attention to a7, and then potentially taking on d4s. And look at the time, also 16 seconds now. Valentina feeling the burn of the clock.
She's played d4, rook a1, hitting a7, rook b5.
Okay, rook a7, rook f7 is absolutely crushing here. Rook f7.
Yeah, nice move. Rook f7.
Oh,
taking a pawn with a check to the bishop.
And now CD is possible. Rook a7 is possible. It's not entirely over yet. I mean, sometimes in these situations, you can end up losing a couple of your pawns. Anything can happen. But technically speaking, it is winning for white, of course.
Right, because we've got those extra 2 pawns.
So we'll see
how Anna handles this. Tricky knight.
But the time situation now equalizing, so both players needing to watch their clocks here. And Anna, Valentina, very resilient player. Very resilient, very tricky. Anna dipping below 10 seconds.
That's right. She's the one behind on the clock now.
Right, and b4, that might have been a bit of not a great pre-move there, rook b7, allowing the pawn. Now king b3, the king keeps using that pawn as kind of an umbrella. 95. Oh, rook takes d5. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. What a chance missed by Valentina. Rook takes d5. There was pinning the knight to the rook. I can't believe it. Knight c4. Okay, now it's anybody's game. Look at that pawn.
Yeah, knight e3 check. We want to get that knight in. Knight d1 was possible. She didn't do it. One repetition, it's going to be a draw.
Oh, it's a draw. Okay.
Draw by repetition. What a miss there. As Anna looked like she was dominating that game towards the end, but there was a draw.
Absolutely was. Yeah, yeah. And at the very end, I guess taking the draw was a practical decision. She is up by 1. I guess she's confident in her, in her bullet chances. So it makes some sense. But you can't miss too many of these chances.
Yeah, she's still up 1 point. She's still up 1 point against this incredible player. So that's the good news. She didn't lose the game. She could have lost the game. I mean, you mentioned rook d5. Yeah,
absolutely. So e5. I'm not familiar with this variation, and I'm not sure I understand what Valentina is doing, to be honest. So CB, maybe FG. You can have a situation with 4 queens on the board.
Oh, I love it. Let's do it.
FG, got to do it, because if bishop takes b2, then that's just better for black. Here we go.
Queen, queen. I don't think I've ever gotten to see this in like a real game. Usually it's
Yeah,
in
it's
the
so
end
rare.
game.
It's
Usually it's in
so
the
rare to have this in the middle game.
Yes, this is amazing. I love it. FG7, although she could take on C1 with queen and ruin our fun. Come on, do it. Take on A1.
She has to, actually, because bishop takes g7 is not that good for black after bishop takes b2. Oh,
yeah,
no.
exactly.
No.
I'm so
that would have been
disappointed
so
now.
fun, Jen.
But it's still going to be a fun middle game.
I will,
That's
for
good
sure.
news.
Queen d6 threatening queen b4. So bishop takes c4, not possible. Oh,
I can't believe they didn't go for it. How often do you get that? But of course, the players are looking for the best moves, not the most entertaining ones. It is a very encouraging competition.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like if it was like, just a blitz game on chess.com without anything at stake, they do it. Yeah.
But I actually think it was good for black. Like, I don't think it's just for the fans. I actually do think that was good for black, to be honest. So
what about this? Is this good for black too, or not so much?
This, I would say, is less clear, because white can collect that pawn on c4 with rook c1. I'm kind of anticipating some sort of bailout into an equal endgame. I do still like black. She's got the blockade going in the d5 square, so it's unclear. It's very unclear. And now queen takes c4. Yeah, transitions most probably into some sort of an endgame, where I think black is in decent shape. She's got very active pieces, but so is white. Yeah, I don't know what else Valentina is contemplating. Maybe bishop takes c4, but then queen a5 check is kind of unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, we could do queen d2, but then you have extra options. So she did indeed take on queen on c4 with the queen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, queen. Anything we can do here besides queen takes c4? Just bishop.
Yeah, I guess we could go. Yeah, bishop e4.
But what about queen takes c7 now? No, she just maybe castles or something.
I was wondering that too. Yeah, I guess she just wants to go into this endgame. But now, I mean, with such a bishop on d5, Anna cannot be worse. I mean, despite her pawn structure being slightly defective, I really do not anticipate this being bad for black. I mean, I really think the piece knight c6 now, just very easy, natural piece play from Anna.
Yeah, really. Like that bishop on d5 functions as an outpost. So we talk about the outpost knight, but the bishop there is incredibly strong too.
And knight c6 played. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And rook c5 meets with bishop takes knight, followed by knight takes d4. So, yeah, I mean, this is just not quite what Valentina, I'm sure, was looking for in the opening. But it's not like she's that much worse here. It's bishop really anybody's game.
Yeah, because bishop e2 is a nice idea that now if you take on f3, bishop f3, and now your knight on c6 is devastatingly pinned. So that's no longer on the menu.
Right, and exactly.
If you take d4 right away, of course, c7 hangs.
Right, you're right. You don't want to allow that rook there. You want to go rook fd8 here. Now, the time situation beginning to be a little bit bothersome for Anna, but again, time and again, she showed her ability to survive in very complicated positions with very little time on her clock. So I wouldn't be too worried.
Although watching a friend of yours or a family member play in one of these events has got to be one of the most nerve-wracking experience ever, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, you wouldn't know anything about that, Jen, right?
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
like you have a brother who played in the Speed Chess Challenge. So
that's
what goes
right,
through your mind when you see that? You're nervous, you feel like you're there?
Yeah, and you can't control like what players will do, and everybody makes mistakes in blitz. So it's just such a roller coaster, I think, for people watching. So when you're like, yeah, just relax, I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm sure Anna's friends and family are real relaxed.
They're so calm. They're going all Zen mode. So here we see a bit of a transformation. That bishop on d5 left vulnerable, but Anna could play e6 here. I mean, still fine for black. Even bishop takes e5 is possible. So yeah, I still like black here with that bishop, with that monster bishop. But 30 seconds down on the clock.
f4, and now king's coming in with f2, king f2 and king e3, but
right.
We do have to watch out a little bit for things going on. I don't know though. What just happened? This exchange followed by bishop to b5. So rook comes into d2, and my
Yeah.
idea is to get my bishop back to d5.
Yeah, but this is starting to look more and more dubious because look at that pawn on c7. If white takes it, she's going to be threatening rook c8 and bishop c5. Oh, man. Now black all of a sudden hanging by a single thread.
Rook c8 anyway. Play rook c8 anyway. Then we have king g7.
But then bishop e8. Oh, man. Bishop e8 actually. Oh, man, that's actually a huge threat, and she's played it.
That right away, way better. Love it.
Yep.
Way better than my idea.
Not over yet, though, because the g2 pawn is hanging, and it's not easy to defend in white's own right. But even f5 here maybe should be considered with so little time on the clock. Okay. f5. This is crushing.
f5, yeah. Wow. She knows how to attack even in the endgame, Valentina.
And this is going to be a close match. We've called it again and again, and we can see it. And unfortunately, Anna not making her time here, but she's lost anyway.
Really nicely played by Valentina Gunina, tying up the match. We got another London on our hands.
Yeah, and Valentina has not played these positions too well in the start of the match, so she's got to make some sort of change. This time, Anna going for a sharper continuation. Knight to c3, sacking that pawn. Now you can't take the pawn because of knight a4, trapping the queen. Very typical idea. Knight a4 here is possible, actually.
Knight a4, huh? Why are you doing that?
Well, I kind of want to take on c... but then there's queen a5 check. No. See, now that knight on c3 can be a little bit awkward, potentially, right, because it blocks the c-pawn. So I kind of like the way Valentina is playing this.
So that's why you're doing it. You want to play, okay, bishop d3, and eventually you're saying this knight on c3 is no bueno, so we want to move it.
Yeah, but now e4, no, this is good for white. This is good for white. So she's playing this kind of like a Jobava London with a Veresov knight c3 involved. Going for e4 rather than c4. Very sensible idea from Anna.
Yep, we talked about it earlier in relation to the Grunfeld. When you can't play c5, play e5. It's all about grabbing your share of the center to unbottle your pieces. And here, that's exactly what white's doing. Now, what about e5?
Very much possible. Driving that wedge in the position and getting d4 as a potential blockading square. White can also choose to keep... Okay, so ed, and now we have an IQP position with that queen on c5 being a little bit awkward, but it is lending further support to the pawn on d5. So it's a double-edged sword here. Bishop e3. Okay, so d4, interesting. That pawn, I don't know if it's a weakness or a strength or somewhere in between. Probably somewhere in between.
And now, what do we do with the knight? Like, okay, knight e4, bishop e4, and now we're already threatening bishop takes c6, just picking up that pawn. So you got to play something like rook d8.
Or bishop f6, right, exactly. And rook d8 played. And if black can stabilize the situation by going, let's say, bishop e6, bishop f6, I think that Valentina can slowly start sort of recovering the initiative. So Anna has this window of opportunity here. She's got to decide, how does she want to pursue this initiative?
Well, she's played queen d3 to force black to choose how to defend the pawn on h7, and h6 was the choice. You know, the problem with that move is sometimes it creates some weaknesses, you know, a hook on h6. But can white take advantage of it here? I'm not sure. Knight e5 played idea.
Right, so...
Can't take twice because of bishop h7 check.
Yeah, nice move because it exposes the attack on the b7 pawn also. So I really like it, actually.
I like it too.
I really like it.
And it shows one of the weaknesses of the h6 move, that sometimes there's going to be something like bishop h7 check followed by knight g6.
Exactly. So Anna successfully, you know, pursuing that initiative, solving that temporary problem of Valentina being close to consolidating. And I don't like this position at all for black. So Valentina has some problem solving to do. She's just not showing too much confidence in these London positions. She keeps repeating the line and keeps getting bad positions. So she might have to change something up as they move toward the end of the 3-minute portion and definitely toward the bullet portion. Bishop f6, that's a good move. You know, trying to keep the pieces involved. So it's still anybody's game, but knight takes c6 kind of ruins the pawn structure.
Yeah, that's true. We're playing on both sides of the board here. There are some attacking ideas, but just the simple positional idea when the bishop went to f6 makes a lot of sense, followed by b4.
Yep, I'm trying to draw the queen away from the c6 pawn and also fixing the weakness on c6. So.
Right, but is there a way for me to stop the move c5? Because I feel like I'd rather you not get to play that.
Yeah, rook a c8, exactly. That's the idea. I'm not sure about rook a d1. That might have been a move that looks tempting, but now c5 is a very serious idea. Maybe king h8 first to stop bishop takes h6. And if Valentina plays c5, she's still going to be worse, but the advantage is going to start to evaporate. Would be my concern.
I said queen f3 now, and bishop h6 is a threat. So watch out for losing that pawn. What does she do to stop it, though?
Oh, so c5 bishop b7 is the idea. Wow. Anna displaying amazing creativity and speed here. Bishop b5 now is possible. And bishop b7, I'm really not sure about. Now bishop b5.
Yeah, bishop b5 and then queen h5 coming into the position.
Right, with queen takes h6 undertones. Queen h5 first, also possible. Now bishop e5 is very strong, I think.
Bishop e5, yeah. And then if you play f6, we have queen g6.
And there's a king g8, there's a rook left.
Queen h6, queen h7 mate is a threat.
Rook d3. Rook d3 is devastating. Yeah, wow, look at it. Man, this is an amazing game so far by Anna. Rook g3, and then queen takes h6 is crushing. Crushing for white.
Queen takes h6 right away was also needed to be calculated, but too fancy. You could block with the bishop. So rook g3 right away. This
is completely winning for Anna. I mean, this is just crushing. Absolutely
no defenders.
Crushing.
That's the problem. Everything is on the wrong side of the board. And I said earlier, the problem with a move h6 is that it's a hook for later attacks. Imagine if that pawn were in h7, g6 would be a potential defense. Right,
exactly. You could defend and sort of build that little shell. As it stands, there's just no defense to queen takes h6.
f6 played, and now an immediate bishop d3, hitting the queen on b5. And what's the death blow here?
I guess queen takes h6.
Yeah,
gotta be good. And then after f takes c5, though, you need some sort of slow move because the king is permanently weak. So I don't know. Maybe queen
So queen h6 played. We'll find out in a second.
Maybe rook g5. I don't know. Queen. Oh, but e4. Oh no. Oh no. That's a huge blunder.
Well, yeah. E4.
Oh no. Anna with a huge blunder there, allowing Valentina to get a ton of pieces now for the queen, and the tables have turned.
How tactically alert by Valentina.
Rook e6 wins. Oh my god. Oh, sorry. Rook e6 was winning on the spot.
Queen takes d8.
Oh my god.
D8. Oh my god. Another turnaround.
Oh my goodness. What is going on here? Just nerves.
I mean, they're just both so good, but they're also playing sometimes so quickly that
too quickly.
It's tough. It's a tough call because you don't want to lose on time, but you don't want to give up pieces either, especially with this increment in the game.
Definitely do not. Yeah, and Anna will be counting her lucky stars here.
But will she win this?
Yeah, I mean, rook a7, this is crushing. I mean, there's just no chance to see her. Valentina can't even move. Queen h4 picks off the second rook.
Oh, there it is. And that's sad. Twice on the same square, Danya.
Unbelievable. Twice in the same. Yeah, she blundered d8 first, and that is a huge win for Anna. And a blow to Valentina, who turns the game around and then immediately proceeds to blunder the rook in one move.
Yeah, well, I thought that was a really well played game for a while, but then and then I was like, wow, Valentina really stuck with the defense and deserves the comeback win, but it turned around yet again. Incredible. And now we've got 3.5 for Anna and Valentina with 2.5.
Right. So still anybody's match. We'll see if Valentina managed to recover in this game. We've got right around 9 minutes to go.
Yeah, and another isolate.
So no, 6 minutes to go. My bad.
Okay, so it's going to be close whether we have this is our final game or if we get one more.
Probably we'll get one more. It's like 6.5 at this point, so we'll probably get one more.
Probably, unless it's a really long game. So this is another isolated queen pawn, a more traditional treatment. And again, like eventually white might line up some pieces on a battery, and I don't think we'll see the move h6 this time, though.
Yeah, and also net f7 ideas need to be considered in these positions. Not immediately, because black can give up 2 rooks for a piece, but that is an idea that exists.
Yeah, you got to keep your eye on that. So that's why you might see a piece come to d5.
Right.
Yeah, knight on f to d5 was the choice of Anna.
Okay, so blocking. I like her position here. That knight on b4 is untouchable, given that white's pawn has moved to a4. So very wise here, strategy chosen by Anna. Valentina going back to d2 with her bishop. Okay, that makes sense.
Instructive moment, guys, because when you have the isolated queen pawn, you don't want to make a lot of trades. That's why we saw the move bishop d2 rather than bishop e7, queen e7,
Exactly.
knight d5. As you start to trade off too many minors, the isolated queen pawn becomes a pure weakness, not a strength.
Right. Well put. Well put. So Anna trying to, or Valentina, sorry, I keep confusing. Valentina keeping as many pieces on the board as possible. And again, the time situation, this is why I worry about the bullet section. I mean, Anna will not be able to afford these very long thinks in the bullet.
But she is up a point already.
She
Bishop
is.
d5 insisting on some trades. And noting that if bishop g5, queen g5, there's also that battery on g2, right? Knight f4,
Right.
devastating threat.
Exactly. Exactly. Ooh. So that's exactly what might happen here. Valentina has some problems. So maybe knight e4. Okay, I guess knight e4 is fine.
That was the idea, because the queen g2 tactic and knight f4 doesn't work. You end
It
up
might
losing
actually, though.
Wait,
because
it might
at
work.
the end there's f5 at the end.
Right. Queen g2, king g2, knight f4 check.
It might actually work.
Yeah, well, e4 is hanging at the end,
And
right?
she plays it. Yeah, and f5, what a move. Incredible tactical awareness. Because king f3, knight takes c2, bishop takes c2. Just to repeat, there's f5.
I was trying to explain why it didn't work, and then we realized it did work. And by the way, that's how chess works a lot of the time. So do that to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to check out this stupid idea to show you why it's not good. And wait a second, it is good.
Gotta dare greatly. Yep, there we go. Knight takes c2. This is a, I mean, if Anna can drive this home, this is potentially a very, very big game.
There it is.
And she's going to win a pawn. This is definitely better for black.
The final move of the variation. That's why you always got to look at the 4C moves, guys. You never know what it'll lead to. What about knight d7 here?
Yeah, I mean, probably that's good because you recover the pawn. So maybe knight d7 is the best, and then knight takes b6. But there's some f4 check ideas. Yeah, you could do it next.
See what transpires, which way she takes on e4, and then she might be considering knight rook c7 or knight d7.
So she takes with the pawn, which basically establishes a potential d3 square for the knight, but it does kind of damage the pawn structure. So I'm not a huge fan of this move necessarily, but I understand why she played it. I do understand why she played it. So yeah, this is.
I think White has stuff here, though. Like, I don't think this is as bad as it was at first glance. Like, there's so many different weaknesses to attack here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Rook c, just putting the rook on c7 is possible, just to disturb black. Knight d7 chosen by Valentina, going after b6 also makes sense, because knight takes b6 is going to attack the rook and the bishop.
I agree. I mean, of course, it's a little sad to see our knight move from the gorgeous square on e5, but we get gorgeous squares on e5 so that we can win material back.
Right, exactly. Rook e8, okay.
Yeah, we take that pawn.
Oh, absolutely. And you can cement the knight with a5. Instead, Valentina returning to d7 and probably to c5 in the end. So she's established material equality. Really anybody's game here. I mean, I don't know how to evaluate this. I think white's not worse already, but on the other hand, black does have that very strong knight on b4 that remains in a powerful position.
Yeah, and it looks like white's now gaining a time advantage as Anna's in the tank in this position.
Yep, once again, dipping below 30 seconds and now soon to be below 20 seconds. And this is the type of endgame where you really need at least some time to figure stuff out. Rook d6. But increasing the pace of her play, once again, this might be the final game of the section. If this gets into a prolonged endgame battle here.
Yeah, it's going to be close. You're right. About
Oh,
a
it is.
minute
It
and 20
is.
seconds left.
Gunina trying to accelerate her pace, but knight d3, that's a very good move. If knight takes d3, rook takes d3, there's bishop c4, knight takes c4 instead. Very close here. Okay, bishop
Knight
e6
takes
and d5 though. This is not good. d5. Yep, I think this is losing for black actually.
Yeah, just because we're up a pawn and it's actually a really good pawn. And look at rook h4,
Now rook
creating
d4,
another
rook
weakness
f4.
on g6.
f4 is also possible. Rook e4 chosen, knight b4. Okay, so Anna trying to stabilize the situation. Not over yet, but it's going to be very, very close. And 50 seconds left overall. Rook f8. Okay, so she's keeping
Rook
stuff
g5.
stable for the time being. Rook f6.
Yeah, that was the idea.
f4. She's kind of knight f5 now. Knight e5. Oh, but king f4, and this is winning. Okay, king f4. Oh, fg, knight g6 though.
There is rook
Oh, rook
h5.
h5 mate. Oh my god, it's just made me laugh.
Nice mate. That's actually an unusual checkmate, isn't it? And it looks like they just beat the buzzer, Danya, and we're gonna get one more game.
Yep, we will. And another London system. So we'll see how this one goes. So it is tied. It matches tied, and they're just exchanging blows here. So time up. This will of course be the last game of the 3-minute section. And Anna taking, the cautious approach, betting her pawn on c3.
And now bishop d3 played, and are we going to see a bishop takes d3, pawn g3? I don't think so. White, now that black is castled, they don't really want to let you open that h file until we castle as white.
Yeah, I really doubt it. And e4, this is a theoretical line, bishop e7, e5. It seems by her time consumption that Valentina is not too comfortable with it. But DE, I'm not sure about. Knight takes e4. There are positions here where black can get in a lot of trouble concretely. There's positions here where there's bishop takes h7 ideas. Look at the pin. This can be scary for black for sure. You can even try a Greek gift here, but I think it's a little premature.
Yeah, how would you follow it up? Take on d6 in between, right? But then you've only got those two pieces with your king in the center.
Exactly. King h6 there is good for black. So no, it's too early for the Greek gift, but yeah, Anna's got to figure out what to do here. DC, good move. Bishop c5. And I guess queen c2, queen e2. Yeah, so some pressure because of that bishop on e4 remains. Nothing terrible for Valentina, but still kind of annoying. Rook d1.
Yeah, rook d1, and then reverse the position of your queen and your bishop at some point, threaten a little checkmate.
Right.
And there it is.
Bishop c2. Bishop C2. Here we go. Loading up the battery.
Yep, because it's annoying because you play g6 and bishop a6.
E4
Queen e4 or c4.
Yeah, the problem with queen e4 is there's f5 counterattacking the queen.
True.
So bishop d3 also possible here.
Yeah, true. And that queen on c8 protects the e6 pawn, so we can't actually play queen e4 at this moment, but c4 works. And if I can play queen e4 and induce f5 and just move my queen away later, that's actually not too bad because then you've created these permanent weaknesses in your position.
Exactly. e5 is weak, etc. So I think what is deterring Anna from playing c4 is that weakness of the d4 square. But she goes for it anyway. I agree. I think it's important to keep that light squared bishop where it is, for sure. So we'll see how this plays out. 97, rerouting her knight to f5. I like the speed. So again, I'm very concerned for the bullet. Anna she's just taking a little bit too long. Maybe she'll adapt, but I have the feeling that Valentina is the clear favorite in the bullet section. So if Valentina can win this game, that puts Anna under a tremendous amount of pressure.
But winning this game, I still like white.
Yeah, but the problem is now how about them apples? Who's got the battery now? Bishop e5, interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. That's why you lined up that bishop and queen on the the light squares there.
Right, but rook fe1. Okay, I agree. I think white's not in any imminent danger. That knight on f3 is doing a great job of keeping that battery at bay. But black's piece is very well coordinated. I don't like that at all because now Queen G6 is very annoying. Oh, look at all this exposed. All of a sudden, look at Black's pieces coordinating the bishop's rook coming to E8, pressuring the bishop on E5.
Nice.
Less than a minute on the clock for Anna. Ooh, scary, scary, scary.
Yeah, what do we do here to defend? I mean,
King H1, I guess, but that opens up the possibility, the unsavory possibility of taking on F3.
Rook Queen C3 instead was a choice, but now Rook E8 threatening Bishop F3, which would win on the spot. Yep. By the way, Rook E5 would win on the spot as well.
Oh.
Bishop G3, but what about, I mean, I would imagine, I thought F4 was winning here, but I guess now.
Yeah, Bishop F4. So Bishop E4, just playing, stabilizing stuff here. Very good move, practically speaking. And again, I'm mentioning it a lot, but I love the speed of Valentina's play. She's leaving herself with a lot of time for the sort of crucial phase of the game. And already below 30 seconds, this is going to be very hard to play. F4 wins. F4 and Queen G4. F4 and Queen G4 is a relatively simple tactic. I think she'll find it.
Nice eye, Danya. Those good old double attacks, right?
Yeah, loose pieces drop off, and she does immediately. Look at the speed and the sharpness. This is going to be, I think, a win for Valentina. Bishop H4 doesn't even help because Queen G4 there. Knight E5, desperation, but Queen F5, for example.
Yeah, Queen F5, huh? So, yeah, Rook F7 doesn't lead to anything because of Queen E5.
Okay, Queen E5 and basically over. I mean, just up a piece in the endgame, so.
Yep, there it is. Valentina looking like she's going into that break with a 1-point lead if this game does indeed end in a win.
Yep, and 10 more minutes of just scintillating action remaining, where, of course, nothing has been decided yet, only a 1-point lead, assuming she drives this home. But, you know, with these nerves on the line, literally anything can happen, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 pawns, right? So you do have to make sure that you do this delicately.
Right. You don't want to just start sacking stuff. Rook E2 here is simple and strong. I also don't think she should overthink things. Trading off one pair of rooks makes a lot of sense, but she is allowing Rook D7. So, okay, I mean, this makes a lot of sense what she's doing here. Playing with an abundance of caution. A5 fixes the weaknesses. Ooh, that's a knife.
There it is.
Yep,
take off some of those pawns. That'll be the end.
This is just resigns, basically. Rook E8 pins everything. Okay,
Rook E8 I would have expected as well.
Yeah, Valentina. Okay, Bishop E5, Rook E5. That's
there we have it.
Probably. And that's the game, which brings us into the bullet segment with Valentina now ahead by 1 point.
Really good performance by Valentina in those last couple games, and she earns herself a lead going in to Danya's favorite format, bullet. It's going to be 1-1, and we will be back with it in just a couple of minutes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Women's Speed Chess Championships, brought to you by Chess.com and FIDE. Here we are, the final of leg 2, and not just the final, but the final time format. We are at bullet, but it is 1 minute with a 1 second increment, a little different than the bullet that most people play, right, Danya?
Yeah, definitely 1+0 is an entirely different animal. That's important to realize. You might think, it's just 1 second, who cares? But it's a completely different game. The role of time is different. There's no flat out time. Well, there are time scrambles, but it's harder to flag someone. You can't go for a position only in order to flag them because obviously you have time.
Exactly, right. Especially these players, because it seems like they're both fast enough to physically make all the moves that they need to make. And I think we just started. Oh, no, that was the false
Here we
start.
go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Strap yourself in, as we do have a carrot
fastened. And a D3 line, which is very fashionable these days. This endgame actually is quite venomous for white, because White's pieces come out onto very good squares. It looks like Anna's very comfortable with it, though. She's displaying knowledge of how to place her pieces. And here Valentina starting by playing with an abundance of caution. Man, are they playing fast out of the gate. This is bullet, not 10-second chess, but I love it.
Hey, but they're playing good moves, so no fault there. Look at this in-between move check. I don't think it really changes anything, but...
But knight d6 is a big threat now, so I think Valentina is a big initiative here to start. That bishop looking good. Development problems for Anna. G6.
I agree with you. Tough opening to play
over
in the
minute
format.
And amazing move, knight b7. Knight coming to a5. Bishop g4 here is very strong. This is big problems here to start for Anna.
Brilliant positional move, knight b7, stopping your rook from coming to d8. And then when you kick it away, we have knight a5 hitting on the c6 pawn.
Right, rook d6. Rook d6, maybe knight d4. Just knight way D4, too. I mean, she's got to slow down here. I mean, this is bullet. But rook takes d4, maybe. I mean, Valentina mismanaging her time right now. She's just playing too fast. But maybe it'll pay off. I don't know. I'm backseat driving this thing. Still not over.
I don't think so. It was a brilliant start, but then she got a little overconfident, Danya, I think, because rook d6 was so juicy. But this nice
but bishop f3, now knight c6 a threat. Knight c6 is a big threat here, so certainly not over. I mean, definite compensation here for Valentina. That c6 pawn is very weak. But knight e7, very good move.
Compensation, but I also this king on e5 gives me a nice impression for black, right?
Yeah, it's stabilizing influence. Rook e1. Okay, you don't want to take on e7 here because, well, obviously that just leads to mass trades. You want to go something like rook e3. Yeah, king c2 is good. And now knight b7, knight c5, or knight b3, good move. So knight e5. Right, now bishop g2. That rook, okay, so rook e6 is being set up by Valentina here. Very tricky play.
Yeah, she doesn't get discouraged. She's still playing so quickly. Knight b7, knight c5.
But Anna's playing well. Rook d1 coming into d6.
Okay. Well, but maybe too slow, Danya. She's got 18 seconds left.
Yep, that's not good. And dipping below. And all these practical threats here. Okay, a5. Oh, rook d6. Very unpleasant initiative now. Rook h6. There's mating ideas. This is anybody's game.
Oh, yeah. Graveyards are littered with people who played merely good moves in bullet chess.
Exactly. Well
you gotta play good moves fast.
8-7. Oh, no. This is...
Mating net, rook h4. There is rook d4, though. Otherwise...
Okay, but now repetition. This is a draw. Saving the game is Valentina. Unbelievable. And she's going to learn her lesson here. And a huge draw now by Valentina. That took a chunk off the clock as well.
She keeps that 1 point lead. But Danya, I actually don't even think Anna Ushenina was that disappointed with the draw there. She could have easily lost.
Oh, yeah. At the very end was so little time. But now Valentina is going to make the adjustment. I think she's going to slow down a little bit. I think she plays with more confidence. But Anna's got to play her game. Yeah, not to be discouraged. She played very, very well in the opening. But we can tell how much slower she is. I mean, she's just taking a little bit too long in the opening. So maybe these players overcompensating on either side. We'll see how this game goes. 6.5 minutes. This is almost a must-win. for well, a must not lose basically for Anna and Valentina displaying very good knowledge of the ideas. 97, a very typical idea in these positions, but G4? What is knight f5? I'm not sure about that. Was a terrible move. Now G5. Again, look at the clock. 57 seconds, Jen, for Valentina. She's just not thinking.
Yeah, she has her strategy and she's sticking to it. Playing as fast as possible.
I guess it makes sense. It makes sense. She's got over 20 seconds, but she's going purely on intuition here. So maybe it'll pay off. I don't know. We'll see. It's just crazy to me how the time disparity. Look at this. Oh, goodness. E5, okay. Playing well, though. So I stand corrected.
Considering what happened with us just wasting move with knight f5, g4, since then, the trend is definitely in Black's favor.
Complete turnaround and 30 seconds extra. Oh, this is rough for Anna. She's got to move. She's got to make a move. She's driving herself down on the clock.
You can't do that in bullet for too long. You will get punished.
Right. Bishop e2, still a solid position, but white is worse here. And time is ticking down very fast. Less than 5 minutes remaining. Bishop c7 is interesting here. Queen e7 also possible. Valentina taking her time, leaping to c2 with her queen. Uh-oh.
I didn't even see that.
Disastrous for white. Amazing maneuver and so fast.
Queen a4, queen c2 just seemed like it was on the other side of the theater, and like it was easy not to even pay attention to that. What talent Valentina has.
But that doesn't do anything. I think DE and then bishop f8. Is Valentina's changing her last name to Tang because this is incredible speed. Yeah, there's just nothing here.
Yeah.
This is lost. She's just got to watch for queen f7. Oh my god, she blundered her queen. Oh no. Ooh, that's rough.
Maybe it was intentional to get more games in.
That's possible. So it is definitely possible to come back, but she's got to act fast here. Does Anna, and she's got to win again here with Black. Yep.
She's got to win 2 in a row and then get to the playoff.
Yep.
That would be the method.
And
but get the 2 games.
Oh yeah, she's going to get the 2 games, but this is must win, and the next game is also a must win. But we've got a Queen's Gambit here, which is a very solid choice for Valentina. Very difficult to win in these types of positions, and Valentina knows them well. So I'm worried here for Anna for sure.
Oh yeah, this one is always. I mean, honestly, I find this opening kind of fun to play for both colors. It's fun to play for white because you're attacking, and you have some really nice counterplay ideas for Black.
Right. Now, Anna's got in a great position here. The problem with these positions is even when you get a quote-unquote great position, white always has, d5 ideas and knight e5. It's just easy to play rook lift. Uh-oh. Okay, rook c1 is just way too passive, but still, it's hard to make progress here.
It's so fast again.
So fast. Move. It's crazy. He has 58 seconds.
But this is hard to play against, right? It's difficult when you're the one who is unable to think or catch your breath at all. The pressure of the clock.
Scary. H3 is also something, to consider. Just making it very difficult to make progress here for Black, given the weakness of her own king. Again, Anna dipping very much below on the clock. Queen f4 here, rook e3. Looking scary, very scary. Rook g3 and knight takes g6 ideas. Oh. This is going to require a miracle here. Rook g3 now is very strong. Knight h5 maybe. Okay, but that's, I don't know. Queen g5, knight e4, just take it.
And now knight
oh, that's a knife. Knight f6 coming in. This could be it. This could be it, but Anna holding strong. Queen g7, it's not over yet.
Okay, knight f6, rook g4 to go to h4.
Man, just twisting in the knife is Valentina has got over half her time left. Now rook h4 threatens, rook takes h5, mate. How to defend knight takes h5 is over. Oh, knight no.
And h5, king g8, knight f6 check.
And it is over. What a performance by Valentina in the bullet. Yep, and she's just going to stall out in the last game. Yeah.
And here, of course, Black resigns, but she's still not going to have enough time to win the 3 games that she would need to win in order to win this match. And this will be the last one, actually.
Yep.
But how beautifully done by Valentina Gunina.
I mean, I stand corrected. I was I was just shocked at her speed of play. And, she paid the price for it in certain moves. She just kind of played a little bit thoughtlessly. But you know what? This is Bullet, and you do what works for you. And the confidence is incredible. That last game was masterfully conducted by any standard. Huge kudos to Valentina for that performance. She chose that strategy and she adhered to it.
Tremendously well done by Valentina Gunina. Big congratulations to her as we enjoy this final game.
Where we have another London.
Yeah, and Anna's been getting a lot of good positions with this. At the moment, her pawn on a4 is pinned, so she's going to play bishop d3 to try to castle.
Yep, and b4 knight a2 is going to pick off that pawn. Basically, for Valentina, she just has to stall out another 17 seconds, which she will do easily. She's not even worse here. Bishop takes c5 is a possible sacrifice.
Oh, nice idea, yeah.
Yeah, I was skeptical. Definitely, yeah, nothing to lose. I was skeptical about her strategy, but you know what? You do what works for you. And she was true to her confidence, true to her strategy.
I don't think her strategy was as pronounced yesterday, if I recall correctly. She was
a little slower.
Yeah. And funny enough, in the game where she's already clinched, she is also playing a little slower. So
yeah. Also making sure that the time indeed runs out. And there's different ways of playing Bullet. There's different schools of thought. I think one says you just got to be slower and play for the position, and then time scramble your way in a winning position. I'm closer, I think, to Valentina's style myself, but different ways of playing. And Anna definitely will hold her head up high. She's got a lot to be proud of, playing very, very well throughout this whole match. A couple of masterpieces too.
That's right. She has incredible style. It's really fun to watch her play when she gets this combination of positional and attacking chess and weaves together victories. But today it was Valentina who's going to come out on top. Knight g1, knight g3.
Trapping the queen. No, rook takes. Rook takes
g3, and you're just down a piece.
Yeah, that was a queen trap.
Oh, nice. Knight g1. What a move.
And at least Anna but careful. Rook f8. Valentina not giving up. Queen f3. Bishop takes h7 wins, and queen g6, for example. Okay, this also possible. This is just over.
Yeah,
queen takes c2. Okay, I mean, she's giving up the exchange, keeping it going here. But
because there's only 8 seconds left for Anna. And remember, these players also, it's the Bullet rating. I don't think they play that as much as Blitz, but the players do care about the ratings online, so they don't throw a game or anything,
Oh yeah, no. These players fight to the death, and I love that about speed chess challenges. They never, the match is lost. Take on g5 and win. Yep.
Yeah, rook g7 and a7, and you're not stopping that, baby.
Yep. And she is, but it doesn't matter. h4. Anna's got a lot of pawns.
I was wrong. There's another one.
King e3. Goodbye. h5. I
couldn't imagine the rook getting there that fast, but somehow it did happen.
Yeah. And
but
Valentina
the h and the a pawns are too much. You can't deal with them both. Split apart. Nice consolation victory there by Anna Ushenina, who is our runner-up today, but our winner of this leg, Valentina Gunina. What an incredible.
Congratulations to Valentina for that awesome performance. And we will take a brief break before coming on with the final interviews.
See you guys in a few. everyone, and welcome back. And we have Grandmaster Valentina Gunina, the winner of leg 2 of the Women's Speed Chess Championships. Congrats, Valentina.
Thank you.
Tell us about the match today. Did you take a different strategy than in the leg 1 final?
I was trying at least. But for me, it was like this match was like in one minute. I even cannot remember what was going on because I was so focused in this match and I was so nervous. So for me, it's just like 1 minute in the row.
Well, laser focused and very, very fast. I can see that you thought it was 1 minute because you were playing so quickly, particularly in the bullet portion. Was that instinctual or a conscious choice to try to always be ahead on the clock?
As I told before, I didn't recognize that I can play myself so fast. But on the other hand, it's like you don't need to think. You just move. And for me, probably it's better. I just switch off my brain and just move my hand.
Well, yes, you did a great job. And I mean, yesterday I was really struck and it filled me with joy to see you so happy after winning against Katerina Lano. And you said after that match, you were particularly happy, not just because she's a strong player, but you love the way that you played. Do you feel the same way today?
Yeah, I really like how I play all these matches. And I'm really happy that I won because, again, I wanted to win because I lost the previous match. And now I'm really, really happy.
Yeah, you deserve it. Now, by the way, you and Ushenina, after these symmetrical results, are tied at the top of the leaderboard for this women's chess speed championships. And you are not playing the third leg, right? So you won't be able to play her in the final next time. What are you going to be doing with your time? Are you doing even more preparation and study these days with live events being canceled?
I don't know. Probably I will have short break and after probably I will prepare. I don't know yet. Now I want to have a little rest because I was working this 2 weeks and it's really exciting and took a lot of energy.
Very nice, very nice. And what do you do when you rest? What's a restful day for you?
Yesterday I had so strong Thai massage because I knew that in this match I will be worried about my game, so I decided, to have really strong massage, and my body is so aching after that because it was so hard. I especially asked about it, and I didn't worry about my games because I was really aching.
Well, there's a secret. You got a very intense Thai massage and you played so fast and confidently today. So you got to stick with that strategy.
Probably.
Well, thank you so much, Valentina. You have a lot of fans out there in the chat, a lot of young people watching this on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending on where they are, and a lot of admirers for your aggressive style of play. Any inspiration for this type of swashbuckling chess that we should check out in the next few days before the next leg starts? Like, who's your favorite attacking player?
Who was before or who is now?
Either.
For sure, I'm a adore of Tal.
Okay. All right. Well, look at Valentina Gunina's games and some Tal games on the few days you have off. Thank you so much, Valentina.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys. Well, here it is. We mentioned Valentina Gunina is now tied at the top of the leaderboard with her foe in this final, Anna Ushenina, who was also her adversary in the first leg of the Women's Speed Chess Championship. So it seems like they are in incredible form in this format. Katerina Lano, though, also playing great, but she never made it to the final. So she's with 8 points. And we see huge front runners here, Valentina and Anna Ushenina. Katerina, I think, needs to try to come in for the full 12 points in the third leg. But yeah, an incredible tournament so far. We're going to resume actually with leg 3 in just a few days on July 8th. And that's going to be the same format as this. We're going to be playing for 4 days with a rest day before the finals. I also want to give a thank you and a shout out to Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky for calling me with this today. He's such a great commentator. So great to call it with him. He did have to leave a few minutes early because he's playing in a match against Mamidarov on the Charlotte Chess Center channel. So thank you, Danya. And I hope you are gaining inspiration from Valentina and playing some very good moves fast. And I'll just leave you with another shout out for an upcoming event. One of the reasons we are starting on July 8th is before July 8th, we have a Tuesday, Titled Tuesdays, and that's going to be in just a couple of days. Thank you so much for watching. The chat has been fantastic. I'm Jennifer Shahadi, and this is the Women's Speed Chess Championships brought to you by Chess.com and FIDE. And we congratulate Valentina Gunina as we take a couple days, and we'll be back for leg 3. Bye, guys.